Under a blood-red moon, the soldiers see the enemy returning to the high ground and they are not thrilled. Their leader tries to rally the troops, telling them to prepare for battle as dark energy swirls around him. Suddenly, a new hooded player arrives, a self-proclaimed judge ready to face down a massive demonic beast. This so-called judge is a full-on skeleton necromancer, complete with his own bony entourage. A system window explains his skill, Demon King's puppetry, which lets him mentally control monsters. With a casual point, he unleashes his monstrous minions onto the battlefield, ready for chaos. This whole nightmare menagerie charges forward a dragon, a wolf, and a giant snake leading the pack. His soldiers are understandably losing their minds, screaming that they are all going to die here. But while everyone else runs, the blue-caped leader stands his ground against a descending dragon. He plants his glowing sword, declaring that this is humanity's last stand and they cannot retreat. A white-haired swordsman, inspired, rallies the others to charge forward and stop the enemy. This skeleton lord just watches the slaughter with a grin, his forces tearing through the soldiers effortlessly. Looking over the carnage, the leader decides that if someone has to end this, it'll be him. Our boy prepares to sacrifice his life for humanity's glory, his sword blazing with holy light. His teammates watch in horror, realizing their captain is activating a forbidden sacrificial spell. He is planning to take the giant dragon down with him in a final, desperate gambit. A massive explosion of light erupts, engulfing the roaring beast in a blinding flash. But the skeleton villain just scoffs at the display, calling it a crude and inelegant way to die. With a glowing red eye, he seems completely unfazed by the attack, basically asking, "Is that it?" Fueled by their captain's sacrifice, the remaining soldiers scream and charge forward for one last push. This holy light from the captain's sacrifice completely vaporizes everything in its path, shattering the dragon's very core in a massive, crackling explosion of energy. But somewhere else entirely, a silver-haired man in a suit is absolutely seething with rage, his eyes glowing as he curses the trash for using such a pathetic, low-class move. With a furious point, he orders his own underlings to go tear the heroes to shreds, and then the scene just cuts to a cartoon bird flying over some thugs in a neon alley. His goons are busy laughing it up, mocking some poor soul they have cornered. This immediately gets them trounced in a comical dust cloud by a tiny, angry puppy. Our villain suddenly collapses, totally bewildered and asking where his minions and magic dog went. He gets up only to nearly step in a fresh puddle left by the triumphant little dog. His eyes widen in pure, unadulterated horror as he realizes what he almost stepped in. Staring at the mess, he wonders who could possibly be this stylishly disrespectful. He turns to find another white-haired guy, recognizing him as the damned crow from before. At that moment, a news broadcast announces the beta test for the game Dimensional Array has ended. Looking around the city, he realizes with a shock that he has been reborn, sent back in time. He curses his old enemies before having a moment of clarity. He is pretty pathetic right now too, but then he just smirks and pets the dog, deciding it does not really matter in the long run. A quick montage explains that 7 days ago, monsters appeared and the world became a game. This newly awakened formed guilds and started grinding dungeons for loot and levels. And our boy, the new MC, was apparently the strongest player of all, a total menace. This montage wraps up by confirming our boy was basically the game's final boss, a total menace. With 7 years of game knowledge, he tells his new puppy sidekick it is time for round 2, and his first brilliant move is to just bite his own finger to draw a little blood. He then offers the blood to the dog, boasting his unique talent can crush most newbies easily. Looking way too pleased with himself about feeding his blood to a random stray, dark energy pours into the poor pup as he proudly declares it his first chess piece. But instead of turning into a hellhound, the dog just starts projectile vomiting a literal rainbow. His master plan results in the dog getting heart eyes and falling completely in love with him. Our boy is totally bewildered by this true love's protection skill he has never even heard of. So now his first minion is just a super clingy puppy who will not leave him alone. As he is freaking out, actual dragons start appearing over the city, the minions he actually wanted. He suddenly remembers that at this point in time, his original self was invading game dungeons, and a key detail comes back to him. A dungeon is about to open that lets players swap bodies. In fact, his original Skeleton King body is probably looming over this exact city right now. This was the first time his original self ever actually communicated with a dungeon's guardian. A plan forms: find his original body, use the dungeon, and then he can switch right back. With a snap, he has got it, a way to ditch this weak body and resume his Demon King career. Cackling like a madman, he holds up the confused puppy, declaring himself a genius-level villain. But when he searches for his old id, the system says that player does not even exist. This horrifying truth is revealed. His Demon King account was completely overwritten by this new, weakling id. He is absolutely furious, yelling at the system for not being able to find his legendary id. The system sassily tells him to get with the program, the world changed, and his old account is gone. Our boy just seethes with rage, completely powerless against a sassy blue text box. But then a thought suddenly clicks into place, a glimmer of an idea forming. With a nasty smirk, he pulls up his new profile, realizing he recognizes the face. Turns out he is now Gong Yuan, a low-level assassin in a guild run by his mortal enemy. He remembers the original Gong Yuan was a total hero type, which is just perfect for infiltration. A new, much more petty plan forms: get close to the guild leader, Yada, and settle some old scores. His villainous fantasy involves taking over the entire guild and making everyone his personal plaything. Back in reality, he is trudging through a trash-filled alley complaining about being broke. This whole place is just dripping with grime and poverty, a real downgrade for a former demon king. He immediately covers his nose in disgust because apparently final bosses have sensitive sinuses. Despite the stench, he presses onward, his little love-struck puppy trotting faithfully behind. Suddenly, he freezes, sensing a wave of killing intent directed right at him. Three absolute goons are blocking his path, clearly here to make sure he does not leave alive. Peeking around the corner, he realizes they are after him, which is just a massive inconvenience. So he kneels down, pats his new minion, and decides it is time for a little loyalty test. And by test, he means he literally yeets the poor dog at them like a furry, confused grenade. This pup comically ricochets off a wall and then a thug's boot, failing the attack spectacularly. Now the thugs are just chasing the terrified puppy, absolutely humiliated they cannot even catch it. After that whole pathetic display, Gong Yuan just stands over the goons he just dispatched, looking unimpressed. He gives a smug little smirk, clearly thinking this is all beneath a former demon king. Back in his dingy room, he finds a hidden box containing a couple of special-looking tokens. Picking one up, he examines a silver coin that seems to be some kind of unique title item. It is the marginalized title, which debuffs enemies but also makes him a permanent target, a real mixed bag. Our boy figures the original Gong Yuan must have had a miserable time just trying to survive with this thing. But for him, this is perfect, a great way to hide his true identity while infiltrating the guild. At that exact moment, his door gets kicked clean off its hinges by an angry visitor. A massive, dual-axe-wielding brute storms in, accusing him of stealing an item and demanding it back. Gong Yuan, still in full villain mode, scoffs that he would not bother stealing from a low-level grunt. He then adds that anyone who dares shout at him deserves to die, casually tossing the token over. This big guy catches it and immediately powers up his axe with crackling purple energy, ready to brawl. As the axe swings down, Gong Yuan tries to block it with one hand like an absolute anime protagonist. Only to remember he is in a weak body and does not have his god-tier powers anymore, whoops. He quickly backpedals, barely managing to dodge the attack that would have flattened him. This axe slams into the floor right where he was standing, shattering the wood completely. His opponent just laughs, mocking him for trying to act tough when he is just a weak assassin. And that is when it clicks for Gong Yuan. Oh right, he is an assassin, not a frontline brawler. So he immediately switches tactics, dropping into a low stance and lunging forward with a dagger. Instead of a power struggle, he zips right past the big guy, going for a much sneakier approach. Just as he is about to leave, a voice yells out for their boss, stopping him in his tracks. And here comes the cavalry, the same goons from before, riding a cartoon smoke cloud to help him. This clingy puppy immediately leaps into his arms, and Gong Yuan is absolutely not having it. Turning around, he faces his new, completely useless entourage with a look of pure annoyance. So he decides he has no time for this nonsense and just dives straight out the window. But of course, a swirling purple dungeon portal just has to open up right underneath him, sucking him, his puppy, and the entire gang of tag-along goons right into it. His unwanted backup plummets helplessly into the swirling purple abyss of the new dungeon, while Gong Yuan, ever the protagonist, lands perfectly on his feet, puppy still in hand. And their welcome party is a giant, horrifying worm monster with a weird butterfly head. Lovely. He immediately recognizes this as a high-level beast, realizing this little detour just got complicated, as its mouth opens up to charge a massive energy blast, ready to vaporize everyone on sight. This beam fires a massive column of purple energy tearing through the dungeon floor, while Gong Yuan just chills on a rock, deciding this is a perfect opportunity to teach his new goons a lesson. Except the shockwave is way bigger than he expected, forcing him to leap for his life. And now he is face to face with the giant worm, which seems to have finally noticed him. This monster charges up another blast, this time aimed directly at him and his very confused dog. But he dodges just in time as the beam completely obliterates the spot where he was standing. He realizes his marginalized title makes even monsters ignore him, which is useful but also deeply insulting. With a casual shrug, he decides this is all a waste of time and he should just get back to his guild infiltration plan. Just as he is about to leave, Gong Yuan spots someone else in the dungeon, and it is a white-haired woman with a spear tearing through the air with raw power. He recognizes her from a photo, thinking she must be the original Gong Yuan's girlfriend, before immediately deciding she is not his problem and has absolutely nothing to do with him. But then he sees her on her knees, completely exhausted and vulnerable, with that giant worm monster looming over her, ready to finish the job. Forgetting he is a villain, Gong Yuan sprints to the rescue, his confused puppy trying to keep up, as the monster's jaws slam down right where she was just moments ago. Because our boy swoops in for a dramatic rescue, already planning how to exploit this. He even drops a cheesy one-liner, apologizing for being late with a smug little wink, and her response is to just punch him square in the face. So much for the damsel in distress. Gong Yuan is completely baffled, wondering why his brilliant hero act did not work at all, because it turns out she did not need saving, leaping right back into the fight on her own. Unleashing a massive energy wave from her spear that slices clean through the monster. She lands perfectly on the monster's corpse without a single scratch, looking totally unimpressed. So he and the puppy just give her a slow, sarcastic clap for a job well done. She glares down at him, calls him useless trash, and tells him to get out of her sight, which has Gong Yuan absolutely fuming, yelling that she has no idea who she is messing with. Then her words click. She mentioned family, meaning she is the original sister, not his girlfriend, and just to make things worse, his unwanted entourage finally catches up looking for payback. These goons are back on their feet surrounding Gong Yuan and screaming for his head, and our boy looks up, completely boxed in by angry thugs and their very large weapons. With an axe about to swing, he gives a look that is less scared and more deeply inconvenienced. In a flash of pink light, he zips through the crowd like a pinball of pure violence, and just like that, the entire gang is laid out, leaving him to chill with his puppy. At that moment, a volley of purple glowing spears rains down, finishing the job for him, as his sister makes a dramatic entrance, posing on a rock like she owns the place. Gong Yuan, holding a goon by the scruff, asks why she even bothered coming back. She smirks that he is not as pathetic as usual and she was just returning the favor. Declaring them even, he immediately tries to leave, but she is clearly not done with him. This sends him into a full-on rage spiral. A demon king does not get asterisk saved by his little sister. This system then announces he has unlocked a new skill from her protection, which he finds hilarious. Because this Eye of Insight lets him gauge power levels based on color, a pretty neat upgrade. Realizing this might be even better than his old powers, he gets a sinister grin on his face, and red lightning crackles around him as he prepares to test out his new peepers. With a flash, his eyes glow with a brand new, analytical light ready to scan the area, turning his vision into a video game HUD that ranks the Wormans and the goons much lower. His scan then lands on his sister, who also clocks in with a massive rank. But behind her, a mysterious figure appears, glowing with an impossibly bright, off-the-charts energy. This new guy's power level is so blindingly intense it literally fries his new vision. Whoops. This system overload was caused by this SSS rank dude just standing there, oozing raw power. And who should show up but Yada, the guild leader and Gong Yuan's mortal enemy, looking way too pleased. A flashback hits. Yada's the one who used dirty tricks to take down his demon king form in the past. Our boy is absolutely seething, vowing that this time he is getting his revenge for that humiliation. Back in the dungeon, Yada confronts him, standing over the corpse of that giant worm monster. He grabs Gong Yuan by the collar, intensely declaring that he has finally found him, only for his whole vibe to switch to a sparkly, teary-eyed reunion, which is not what Gong Yuan expected. Then the SSS ranker pops in, patting Yada on the head like a kid and congratulating them on the dungeon clear. This guy cannot even be bothered to remember Yada's name, leaving him looking completely deflated. Gong Yuan just watches, thinking to himself that Yada will soon learn exactly who he is dealing with. Later, they are all heading to the guild headquarters, a place that looks suspiciously like a church. Inside, a meeting is going on about the importance of teamwork and protecting each other. Listening in, Gong Yuan scoffs at the whole friendship is magic speech, knowing it is all a load of crap. Suddenly, the sound of shattering glass cuts through the room, grabbing everyone's attention. A guild member collapses to the floor, choking and desperately begging for someone to help him. His buddy rushes over in a panic, completely unaware of the danger right behind him, because Yada is there, holding a knife to the guy's throat with a truly villainous smirk. He whispers that it is a shame his victim will not get to see his grand demonic ascension. With a simple snap of his fingers, the chaos begins, as beams of light erupt from his hand, taking out multiple guild members in an instant. Yada holds a knife to some poor guy's throat, laughing like a total maniac, and he is just cackling away, absolutely loving this whole dramatic betrayal scene. This rest of the guild just stares, wondering if he finally snapped from dungeon-crawling stress, while Gong Yuan has an internal meltdown over his new rookie and marginalized reputation. Yada then switches back to serious leader mode, announcing a new dungeon will appear in 3 days, which has our boy fuming, thinking Yada is a poser who desperately needs to be eliminated. Seeing his target walk off alone, he decides this is the perfect opportunity to strike. So he sprints down the alley, dagger out, ready for a textbook assassination, only to burst into a room lined with automated turrets, a truly spectacular wrong turn. Turns out Yada was just in the bathroom, completely unaware of the murder attempt next door. This leads to the world's most pathetic stakeout, Gong Yuan peeking over a bathroom stall. His next brilliant plan involves hiding in a tree while Yada naps on the grass below, but just as he is about to leap, a guild member runs in screaming the dungeon has arrived early. And so the grand assassination plot is foiled again, leaving him face down with a puppy on his head. Yada finally confronts him, asking point-blank if he has been following him this whole time. And for a tense moment, it looks like Gong Yuan is about to confess or fight, but instead he pivots to obsessive fanboy, declaring his undying admiration for the guild leader. Yada is completely unimpressed, telling him he is too low-level to be anything but a burden. Gong Yuan immediately fires back, demanding to know why Yada thinks he'd drag everyone down. Yada brings up how his sister had to save him, while Gong Yuan notes Yada's own power has probably hit its limit. Cornered about his intel, Gong Yuan bluffs that he can identify anyone's abilities despite his low level, and he puts on a charming show for Yada while his inner demon king screams about having to flatter this loser. His mind flashes back to his past life, remembering this dungeon is where he first tamed a powerful fox beast. So on his home turf, he is absolutely certain that his rival Yada is as good as dead. Now in the dungeon, the whole guild team marches through a fiery volcanic hellscape, and Gong Yuan takes charge, explaining he can scan the target beast as soon as it appears near the volcano. With a quick command, Yada tells the team to keep pace and end this hunt quickly, while our boy is already plotting, knowing the fox's arrival will trigger an eruption, perfect for a little friendly fire. Just then, one of the guild members abruptly decides to split off from the group, so Gong Yuan ditches the team too, deciding to just chill by a rock and wait for his moment. As he settles in, a massive lava elemental erupts and a tiny white fox just appears on his lap. Then he is completely swarmed by an army of tiny white foxes, wondering what the hell is happening. This rest of the guild is also getting absolutely mobbed by the fox clones, completely panicking. And with a fox on his head, he realizes this is not how it went down last time and has no clue which is his target. Suddenly, the fox perched on his head begins to glow with an ominous purple power, and in a flash of lightning it transforms into a colossal nine-tailed fox towering over him. This giant fox immediately starts wrecking shop, swiping its massive paw at the terrified guild members. But amidst the chaos, Yada just calmly looks up at the rampaging beast, totally unimpressed. Unsheathing his sword, Yada channels holy power, preparing to unleash a devastating elemental attack. As pillars of holy light erupt around him, showing he is more than ready to take this thing on. This nine-tailed fox lunges down, ready to crush Yada's holy light with its paw, and its attack collides with the guild's defenses, sending a shockwave of fiery energy everywhere. But Yada holds firm, deflecting the massive blow with a single, well-placed sword strike, which only seems to annoy the fox as it summons a storm of glowing purple needles. A single needle hits the ground, instantly crystallizing the area with its sheer power. Gong Yuan is having a meltdown, screaming that this is not how it is supposed to go. It skips straight to its final form. Meanwhile, Yada is trying to rally the troops, telling everyone to stay calm and hold the line. This fox then unleashes its secret weapon, a barrage of glowing, magical hearts. And one of the guild members gets hit, immediately overcome with a blushy, love-struck daze. Soon, the entire team is under its spell, stripping off their armor. Talk about an HR nightmare. Yada demands Gong Yuan use his special ability to find a weakness, while our boy just grins, noting the fox's pervy nature is unchanged. Putting on a show, Gong Yuan activates his Eye of Insight, pretending he is about to save the day. His scan reveals the fox is an SS+ rank threat, confirming they are all deeply, deeply screwed. This system breaks down its abilities, including a charm skill that makes people drop their clothes and a move that ignores physical defense. He realizes this version is way stronger, its charm attack completely crippling the entire guild's fighting ability. So naturally, Gong Yuan immediately fakes an injury and collapses, playing the victim card with gusto. From behind a rock, he yells that the monster is invincible and their only option is to run. Yada gives him a long, hard stare, clearly not buying the act for a single second. His own intel said this was a mid-level dungeon, so he is baffled by this overpowered boss. Realizing the casualties would be too high, he reluctantly agrees that a retreat is their only option. Yada screams for everyone to fall back, covering their retreat with a lightning-fast charge. And he leaps into the air, throwing up a defensive barrier against the colossal fox. But the beast just unleashes another wave of its ridiculously overpowered love hearts, forcing Yada to block the charm projectiles as they slam into his defenses. Just as the fox snarls, a very stylish high-heeled boot steps into the frame, and a new woman appears, coolly asking if everyone is really that eager to see a guy strip. She strikes a pose with her own little mascot, looking completely unbothered by the chaos. This immediately works on the fox, while Gong Yuan gawks and the guildies continue their impromptu strip show. He demands to know what she is doing, but she just calls the fox a simple pervert. With a sly wink, she declares it is time to give the beast a taste of its own medicine. Her brilliant plan is to distract it with her own charms so Gong Yuan can land the finishing blow. And Gong Yuan's reaction is a perfect, eloquent huh, clearly not a fan of this strategy. She goes full idol mode, striking a pick-me pose while our boy dies of cringe in the background. And it works, the love-struck fox completely ignores the guild and leaps right for her. Seeing his chance, Gong Yuan yells now, and powers up a ball of crackling blue energy, then unleashes a massive pillar of holy light, aiming to purify the beast completely. This woman freaks out, screaming that the fox is her destined beast, not some guild mascot. But it is too late as the blast wave from his attack blows all her clothes right off. This holy beam engulfs the fox, with the now-naked strategist caught right in the middle of it. As the light fades, Yada steps over a drained Gong Yuan, whose power seems to have vanished. This holy light fades, leaving the giant fox looking surprisingly calm and purified. But its rage immediately redirects, letting out a massive roar aimed right at Yada. And for a second, Gong Yuan and his rival share a look of mutual what the hell just happened, before our boy collapses from the strain, completely drained of all his energy. And Yada actually catches him, kneeling down to ask if he is okay, which is a new one. He tells Gong Yuan he did well and to leave the rest to him, stepping up like a real leader. But a system window pops up for our boy, announcing he has unlocked a brand new teleport skill. Gong Yuan just smirks, thinking this power-up arrived at the absolute perfect moment. So he grabs Yada's arm, stopping him and insisting he wants to give it another shot. With his hair now flowing long and white, he stands up and declares that nobody is taking what is his. Then he confidently struts right up to the colossal fox, which just watches him approach. This beast swipes its paw, but Gong Yuan dodges with impossible speed, leaving an afterimage behind. and he slides across the ground in a blur of purple energy, closing the gap in an instant. In a show of pure audacity, he starts running straight up the fox's massive arm, effortlessly flipping over one of its charm heart attacks like it is nothing, and lands perfectly on the beast's nose, his reflection captured in its giant, glowing eye. Now standing on its head, he looks down on everyone like a king who has just reclaimed his throne. A single drop of his blood falls from his hand, striking a crystal that seems to hold a vision, revealing a memory of his past life when he first met and tamed this very same fox. This fox licks the blood from its nose, its thoughts revealing that only the demon king is worthy to be its master. This colossal fox is gone, replaced by a pink-haired girl who is now passed out in Gong Yuan's arms. And he is just smirking, thinking the beast has finally acknowledged him as its one true master. A system window pops up, confirming he is getting a massive XP boost for this absolutely chaotic win, while he internally complains that being a rookie means he is stuck on the slow and steady leveling path. At least he managed to tame her before the guild could kill her, even if this timeline is getting weird. Because his mind flashes back to his past life, noting how wildly different events are playing out this time. Still, he is confident he can reunite with his old companions no matter how much the future changes, his plan being to just use his knowledge to grind skills and collect powerful beasts along the way. Once he hits a rank, he can finally drop this whole pathetic weakling act for good. Snapping back to the present, he is still trying to figure out why a dungeon boss would turn into a person, while the rest of the guild stands around half-naked, worried this whole fiasco will ruin their reputation. His inner demon king is screaming at him to just finish her off while she is unconscious and vulnerable. But Yada steps forward, demanding everyone freeze and ordering Gong Yuan to explain himself. Gong Yuan just plays the hero, gently telling the now-awake fox girl that he will protect her. Then he boldly announces to Yada that the crisis is over and they can all pack up and leave. Yada just holds up a hand, clearly not satisfied with that non-answer. And he gets right in Gong Yuan's face, demanding to know how he tamed an SS plus rank beast. Our boy starts to stammer, clearly caught off guard and without a good lie ready. And his internal monologue is just pure panic as he realizes his cover is about to be blown. So he improvises a Chibe-style explanation, claiming Yada's distraction let him hit its weak spot, a total fabrication. This guild immediately turns on Gong Yuan, claiming a low-level nobody could not possibly tame that beast. So Yada steps forward, demanding our boy hand her over, while Gong Yuan is just so done with these people. With a smug little grin, Gong Yuan pulls her closer and basically asks, "And what if I do not?" A couple of guild members get aggressive, saying the rules let them kill any monster for loot, but Gong Yuan fires back, sarcastically asking if they forgot the rule about not stealing from a helpless teammate. Yada tries to play mediator, telling everyone to calm down so he can handle this diplomatically, which lasts about 2 seconds before he reaches for the fox girl and she tries to bite his hand off. A flash of dark energy erupts from Gong Yuan's hand, forcefully knocking Yada's arm away. Yada argues that everyone just wants the XP and gear from this high-level dungeon, and our boy, having heard enough, just grabs his new companion and announces they are leaving. He just starts walking away, leaving the entire half-naked guild standing there in utter confusion. But two of the goons are not having it, drawing their weapons and vowing not to let a monster into the human world. Gong Yuan just smirks, activating his new teleport skill and taunting that they cannot possibly stop him. When suddenly Yada becomes a blur of motion, his sword crackling with intense blue lightning, and for a moment even Gong Yuan looks genuinely surprised by his rival's incredible speed. Yada unleashes a massive arc of pure energy, aiming to cut off their escape route entirely. But Gong Yuan just blinks out of the way, reappearing a safe distance away with the fox girl. He is actually sweating a little, admitting to himself that Yada's speed is the real deal. Yada stands his ground, warning that the fox is too dangerous and he will not be merciful if she gets out of line. Meanwhile, the fox girl is struggling in his arms, growling out the word master like a feral beast. A system window pops up, showing his sincerity stat just shot up 4 levels, looks like protecting his new pet has its perks. Gong Yuan gets a devilish grin, realizing he can farm loyalty points from monsters too, giving him the perfect out. He pulls up a new skill menu, deciding that against a top-tier guild, he has to play his new trump card. Yada braces himself as a new skill called White Feather's Confession activates, filling the air with ice. Looking up, he sees Gong Yuan and the fox girl floating gracefully, wrapped in a swirl of frosty energy. Instead of an attack, the skill summons a swarm of adorable, fluffy mini-foxes, cuteness overload as a combat strategy. These little critters immediately swarm the guild, trapping them while Gong Yuan prepares his escape. With the guild distracted, he activates his teleport and starts to blink away with his prize. But their escape is cut short by a mysterious new guy with a ribbon-like weapon who appears out of nowhere. This newcomer whips his weapon around, creating a deadly vortex of energy to block their path. He lunges right for Gong Yuan, clearly another guild member who wants a piece of the action. Gong Yuan's eyes go wide. He definitely was not expecting another high-level player to jump in. But the army of mini-foxes proves its worth, immediately swarming the new guy and clinging to his legs. Yada just watches, totally baffled how an E-rank scrub is pulling all this off. This new guy unleashes a blast of purple energy, trying to shake off the surprisingly persistent fluffballs. This attack sends both him and the fox girl flying, knocking them to the ground in a heap. He grits his teeth, realizing he is outnumbered and outmatched by their crowd control skills. Just then, two mysterious robed figures appear in a flash of light, which he calls Formation Eyes. A new plan seems to form in his head as he spots these strange newcomers. And sure enough, the robed figures unleash a massive pillar of energy, a coordinated magical assault. This massive energy blast slams right into the ribbon-wielding guildie, sending him flying across the battlefield, and the two robed casters look on, seemingly shocked by the sheer power they just unleashed. But the ribbon guy is back on his feet instantly, choking one of them out like he did not even feel it. Then he just hurls the first robed attacker away like trash while the other one watches in horror, before moving on to the second one, delivering a brutal beatdown with zero hesitation. And a close-up on his eyes shows he is absolutely done playing games with these ambushers, but his rampage gets cut short when Yada intercepts him with a lightning-charged sword strike. As the two guild members share a tense look, with Yada thinking this whole situation is getting way too messy. And their clash continues in a blur of motion as the guild officially starts fighting itself. Great teamwork, guys. So Yada powers up his blade, crackling with that familiar blue lightning, his patience completely gone, unleashing a wave of energy slashes that force Gong Yuan to dodge for his life. And our boy grits his teeth, admitting that in his current state he is totally outmatched by Yada's power. While a system window confirms his teleport is on a 10-minute cooldown, meaning a quick escape is off the table. So Yada closes the distance, his sword pointed right at Gong Yuan and his new companion, and the two rivals face off in a tense standoff, the air thick with unresolved drama and terrible fashion choices. With Yada asking if he is done messing around, but Gong Yuan just fires back that the guild started it. Then he smirks, sarcastically asking if this is the guild's policy. He clears the dungeon and they try to clear him, but Yada just stares back silently, his expression giving absolutely nothing away. While the peanut gallery starts shouting again, forcing Yada to shut them all up with a single raised hand. And he lays down the guild's official rule: monsters are either killed or forced back into the dungeon, no exceptions. Yada finally caves, but with a catch: the guild has to test her and keep her under 24/7 surveillance. Which is exactly what Gong Yuan wanted to hear, as he grins and accepts full responsibility for her. And he pulls his new companion close, who seems pretty relieved her master is getting her out of there. So they all head back to the guild's ridiculously over-the-top Gothic headquarters for processing. After a quick scan, the results are in. She is a completely harmless E-rank, which leaves Yada totally baffled. And the other guild members immediately start mocking them, calling them a pathetic pair of E-rank weaklings. With the test done, Gong Yuan smugly asks Yada if they are finally free to go now. While the fox girl chimes in with a cute chibi face, proudly declaring she is an E-rank just like her master. Yada just waves them off, though he is clearly suspicious, noting Gong Yuan's performance was way above his pay grade. As they walk away, our boy is already thinking about his grand plan, finally free from that whole mess. Meanwhile, Yada assigns a subordinate to watch the dungeon and, more importantly, to keep a very close eye on Gong Yuan. And the C-rank assistant just bows his head, accepting his new babysitting mission without a word. Elsewhere, we cut to the dungeon registration desk, where new adventures are about to begin. And Gong Yuan is already signing up for a D-rank dungeon, with the receptionist questioning his sanity for going solo. He just scoffs that no one would team up with a famous weakling anyway, unlocking a skill literally called the Weakling's Pride. A nearby group of adventurers starts gossiping, shocked an E-rank is tackling a dungeon that has already killed a dozen D-rankers. His new companion gets annoyed by the peanut gallery, but Gong Yuan just tells her to ignore their ignorant chatter. He just smirks to himself, thinking he is the only one who knows the real secret hiding inside this particular dungeon. This receptionist tries to be helpful, offering him extra healing potions for his suicide run, but Gong Yuan cuts her off, demanding nothing but wine, ready to cash in all his hard-earned points for a party. He cashes in his points, thinking this dungeon run is just a vacation to meet an old friend, and they arrive at a massive, lightning-wreathed tower that looks anything but relaxing. Inside, they are immediately cornered by some rank player trying to poach the fox girl with sleazy promises, and Gong Yuan's system scan confirms these guys are way too high-level for a D-rank dungeon. This lead creep keeps trying to sweet-talk her, offering to carry her through the dungeon. She is not impressed. Our boy just sighs, completely out of patience for these clowns when he is on a real mission. So the ranker activates a skill, ready to get what he wants by force, but Gong Yuan moves in a flash, effortlessly dodging and dismantling his every move. In seconds, all three goons are left in a tangled, humiliating pile on the floor. This fox girl looks on, a little impressed, as Gong Yuan stands over them without a scratch. He warns her that the dungeon teleports people randomly, so she better stick close to him. Then he and a tiny blue dog-like summon step right into the swirling portal. A vortex of energy whisks them away to another part of the massive dungeon. And the fox girl lands hard on the other side, a bit dazed from the rough teleport. She sits up and finds Gong Yuan already standing there, staring intently at something off-screen. Rubbing her eyes, she asks him what he is looking at with such a serious face. And he just grimly states that it looks like they have arrived a bit too late. They look out over a field littered with bodies. A full-blown massacre has already happened here. This camera pans over the grim aftermath, showing the sheer scale of the slaughter. And in the middle of it all, a lone, spear-wielding survivor looks up, clearly confused. This lone survivor is immediately snatched out of the air by a massive bird, so much for looking tough. And this thing is a huge, crackling blue phoenix dragging the guy across the sky like a ragdoll, only to drop him and his buddies into a swarm of tiny, green, ghost-like monsters. But a close-up on the giant bird shows it is sweating and looking incredibly weak, before it is suddenly bound by glowing blue chains, completely trapped in midair. From a cliff, Gong Yuan and the fox girl observe the scene, with her wondering how these weak monsters were killed, and he deduces someone just used a massive area of effect skill to farm XP indiscriminately. She calls the whole thing pitiful, which earns her a very confused look from our boy. A familiar sound suddenly cuts through the air, and Gong Yuan instantly recognizes it, as something starts rustling in the bushes just a few feet away from the other party. Back with the Spear Wielder's team, they are facing down the chained bird as its defenses crumble, and their leader is just yelling at them to hurry up, furious a D-rank dungeon is taking so long. More rustling comes from the grass right behind him, clearly unnoticed by the loudmouth. Hiding in the foliage, the fox girl asks Gong Yuan if he actually knows that giant bird, and a flashback reveals it is his second pet, a winged gull that once saved his life in this dungeon. This memory shows his former skeletal self being healed by the small, glowing creature, which he personally raised from a zero-attack pet into a unique combat-healing beast. Using his analysis skill, he confirms the enemy party is full of high-rankers who have no business being here, so he decides a direct fight is a bad idea and opens his skill menu to plan a rescue. Meanwhile, the spear-wielding leader prepares to deliver the final blow to Gong Yuan's trapped companion. This spear-wielding leader scoffs that he has got more dungeons to clear, so let us finish this already. But his attack is cut short by a wall of jagged ice erupting from the ground, leaving him stunned. This surprise ice attack sends his entire party flying, completely disrupting their formation. From the shadows step Gong Yuan and the fox girl, coolly announcing this dungeon boss is now his property. This leader absolutely loses it, demanding to know who these nobodies are to interfere with his guild. Gong Yuan just gives him a tired smile, saying his identity is not the important part of this conversation. Then he lunges forward, wreathed in purple energy, declaring they cannot take what belongs to him. A chain whips out and wraps right around the spear guy's neck. Looks like our boy has a new toy. With his sword drawn, Gong Yuan states that this prize was always meant to be his from the start. This leader just sneers at his gear, calling him a D-rank newbie who does not understand the rules. He even offers to teach Gong Yuan not to poach from other guilds, a masterclass in hypocrisy. But Gong Yuan flips the script, asking why C-rank players are slumming it in a D-rank dungeon. He accuses them of trying to monopolize low-level content to starve out weaker guilds, and he is not wrong. This spear leader is absolutely seething, completely silenced by having his own dirty tactics exposed. So like any mature leader, he just powers up his spear for a full-blown tantrum attack. His strike gets completely stuffed by an ice shield, which only makes him more furious. One of his lackeys tells him to stop wasting time and just beat the low-level trash into the ground. This team internally notes the fox girl's powers are weaker in human form, thinking they have an opening. Meanwhile, a new mystery guy watches the chaos unfold from a tree, clearly enjoying the show. This whole squad closes in, surrounding Gong Yuan and the fox girl for the big showdown. This spear leader's lackey flashes a predatory grin, clearly thinking this will be an easy win, and his massive scythe comes crashing down, but Gong Yuan meets the strike head-on with his sword, while the fox girl warns him to be careful, getting a silent nod of understanding in return. As she powers up with pink energy, the other goons swarm Gong Yuan from all sides, a classic 3-on-1 ambush. And these guys are crackling with power, looking way too confident for a bunch of dungeon poachers. It is a chaotic blur of steel as Gong Yuan desperately parries their coordinated assault, his grip tightening on his weapon as he holds the line against their overwhelming force. With gritted teeth, our boy holds them back, but the sheer strain is starting to show on his face. And he realizes these two are way stronger than him, their weapon skills multiplying their power. A split screen of pure smugness shows the two attackers are absolutely sure they have already won this. So they launch into the air for a pincer attack, their glowing weapons aimed right for his neck. One of them even has the nerve to mock him, calling his moves flashy but completely useless. Then they unleash a furious barrage, screaming for him to just die already, real subtle guys. This force of the blow sends Gong Yuan staggering back, barely managing to block the hit with his sword. And his companion calls out his name in panic as the goons close in for the finish. Wiping a bit of blood from his lip, Gong Yuan notes it has been a long time since he has actually felt pain. But he actually smirks, thinking that after a past life of easy wins, this feeling is waking up his fighting spirit. In a flash of movement, he zips right past them, leaving the attackers tumbling through the air in total shock. And he looks back with a smug grin, asking if they still think his moves are just for show. Standing over his downed opponent, he explains his blink skill gives him a speed advantage, no matter their level. He is still locked in a brutal clash, effortlessly parrying the goon's spear with his sword. And the attacker is completely baffled, realizing it is not that Gong Yuan is faster, he has just gotten slower. Which is because Gong Yuan's blink skill is now on a 10-minute cooldown, leaving him vulnerable. And with his main escape route offline, the other lackey closes in for a nasty pincer attack, leaving our boy in a seriously tight spot, caught between two coordinated high rankers. This scythe wielder then leaps into the air, bringing his weapon down for a devastating overhead strike. But Gong Yuan just calmly looks up, already calculating his odds against the aerial assault, when a massive wave of blue energy suddenly rips through the battlefield, sending everyone flying. And the two goons get absolutely wrecked, completely blindsided by this surprise intervention. From the smoke emerges the mystery guy who was watching from the trees, looking extremely unimpressed. And Gong Yuan immediately recognizes him as one of the few people who could actually threaten him in his past life. This newcomer lands and asks if he is okay, to which Gong Yuan just wearily confirms he is still breathing. Turning to the poachers, the new guy calls them out for breaking interguild laws by farming a low-level dungeon, and he gives them one simple, non-negotiable command: get out of here now. This lackeys recognize his guild and immediately panic, deciding this psycho is not worth the trouble. But the spear leader is not backing down, summoning a massive golden serpent for a desperate combo attack, while our new arrival just calmly readies his own sword, preparing to meet the attack head-on, and with a single, clean slice, he unleashes a massive wave of energy to counter it, which has the two lackeys watching in absolute terror as the devastating attack rushes past them, carving a massive trench through the battlefield and completely overwhelming their pathetic summon. Utterly humiliated, the spear leader just screams for his lackeys to swarm the new guy real mature. His whole squad immediately rushes in, ready to dogpile the one person who just saved Gong Yuan. Meanwhile, Gong Yuan and the fox girl just watch, with him realizing he does not even need to help. He internally notes this new guy is a total showboat, but it is the perfect distraction to save his bird. With everyone distracted, he and the fox girl make a run for his injured and chained-up companion, and they finally reach the wind gull, which is still looking incredibly weak on the ground. Of course, two of the lackeys immediately spot them, warning them to back off their prize. Gong Yuan just smirks, telling the fox girl to activate her combat module for a quick takedown. She activates her charm skill, and the two goons are immediately mesmerized, completely losing focus. With their opponents totally distracted, he and his companion prepare to make their move, and in a flash of purple energy, she zips right past them while they are still completely love-struck. That gives Gong Yuan the perfect opening to get to his pet, sword raised to shatter the chains. A single, clean strike from his glowing sword shatters the magical restraints completely, and kneeling beside it, he gently reassures his companion that it is finally safe. Except the bird's eye snaps open, glowing with a menacing red light, not exactly grateful. It suddenly rears up, crackling with dark energy and letting out a shriek, going completely berserk. Our boy immediately realizes the trauma has sent his pet into a rampage, which is bad news for everyone. Without hesitating, the fox girl drops into a defensive stance, ready to face the enraged creature. A quick system scan confirms the wind gull is a D++ monster with some seriously nasty attacks. Just as it unleashes a blast of energy, Gong Yuan pulls her to safety, yelling to be careful. This berserk bird unleashes a storm of wind tornadoes, targeting literally everyone on the field, and even the mystery showboat and his lackeys are getting blasted back by the sheer force of the gale. Gong Yuan explains his pet is usually gentle, but the trauma from the poachers sent it into a rage. He knows he has to calm it down fast, otherwise no one's getting out of this dungeon alive. So naturally, his brilliant plan involves slicing his own hand open on the flat of his sword. Leaping towards the enraged creature, he tries to reason with it, reminding it of their past life bond. Using one of his own ice spikes as a launchpad, he gets ready for his big move, and with a final push, he launches himself directly at the berserk wind gull's face, a bold strategy. Its glowing red eyes immediately lock onto him with pure fury, completely blowing his stealth approach. This bird instantly traps him inside a spherical energy shield, using one of its own skills against him. Our boy quickly realizes his current low-level sword cannot even scratch the barrier, leaving him totally stuck. To make matters worse, the shield starts shrinking, threatening to crush him into a fine paste. While the mystery guy just watches stoically, the fox girl panics, screaming out for her master. Gong Yuan strains with all his might, the immense pressure of the barrier crackling around him. But he has got an ace up his sleeve, pulling out a potion and yelling for the bird's attention. He tells his old friend he knows this is not its true self, trying to jog its memory of their old partnership. Uncorking the bottle, he offers it a drink, a last-ditch effort to snap it out of its rage. A flash of recognition finally hits the bird, the red in its eyes fading as old memories surface. Just like that, the rampage ends, and the wind gull floats calmly in the air, the crisis averted. With the barrier gone, Gong Yuan stands before his now tamed companion, the reunion finally complete. With the bird officially tamed, Gong Yuan gets a fat X boost and some sweet new loot, and he is especially hyped about the new space ring, no more leaving his good stuff at home. After telling his new pet to chill, he just casually stores the giant bird inside the ring. Meanwhile, the spear leader and his crew limp away, vowing revenge like classic sore losers. This mystery guy is busy chewing out his own subordinate for not reporting the chaos sooner, and Gong Yuan realizes this dude was sent to spy on him, which explains a few things. Deciding this conversation is way too much work, our boy just tries to dip out quietly, but the fox girl calls out his name, completely blowing his attempt at a stealthy exit. This mystery guy immediately corners him, demanding to know how he knew so much about the dungeon, and getting right in his face, he asks if Gong Yuan has been hiding his true nature. Gong Yuan just flashes a smug grin, clearly about to spin some world-class nonsense. Just then, a portal opens and a whole squad of reinforcements arrives. A little late, guys. This mystery guy tells them it is all over, just a minor scuffle, nothing to see here. Now the fox girl steps up, ready to throw down to protect Gong Yuan from the interrogation. But her protector is still grilling him, asking how he knew the bird's favorite drink beforehand. A quick flashback shows the mystery guy was easily handling the poachers all on his own, so his subordinate realizes Gong Yuan surviving an A ranker is basically impossible for an E rank. Our boy just smirks, admitting he got careless and did not realize he had a stalker. This list of suspicions grows, with the guy pointing out his monster-to-human companion trick. In the background, other guild members start whispering, wondering if Gong Yuan is a monster himself. This interrogator points his sword right at Gong Yuan, giving him one last chance to explain himself. Completely surrounded, Gong Yuan knows he is way too weak to fight his way out of this mess. But he has got a plan, thinking that a demon king's true strength is not just about brute force. He calmly places a hand on the fox girl's shoulder, telling her to back down for a sec. Then he just casually announces he has leveled up to D rank, looking way too pleased with himself. This guild members are totally stunned, immediately jumping to the conclusion that he is a monster. Gong Yuan leans into the accusation, starting a whole speech about how everyone gets a talent skill, and some people, he explains, are blessed with S-rank talents like the guild leader right here. Then there are the weaklings like him, who can only see info and raise pets, complete with a prop sign for his companion. As the guild leader steps forward, Gong Yuan poses a question to the strong one in the room, so he challenges the guy to a fight, no skills allowed, just a friendly match against a weakling. This guild leader is justifiably stunned by the sheer audacity of this kid. His subordinates start whispering that their boss is still an S-rank swordsman who could flatten this guy in a second. Our boy lays out the terms. If he wins, the interrogator has to tell him everything he wants to know. Thinking this is the only way to solve this, the guild leader agrees to the duel. As you wish. Gong Yuan's face hardens, all the smugness gone as he prepares for a real fight. This guild leader immediately lunges, his sword a blur of motion as he goes for the first strike. And steel meets steel in a massive clash, sending a shockwave through the air. For the second time tonight, the guild leader is completely floored, unable to believe what is happening. Though he is holding his ground, Gong Yuan's hands are shaking, realizing this S-ranker's power could break his bones. Gong Yuan explains this is not a fight he will win with his sword, which is good because the guild leader is already losing his mind. And he has got this intense look, admitting the guild leader's got skills, but that is not the point of this duel. So his opponent calls him out on the whole E-rank story, but Gong Yuan just asks if E-ranks are not allowed to be good. And with a smug grin, our boy admits the guy's sacred sword talent is impressive, a gift from the heavens. Then he asks if his own hard-earned skills are worthless, really laying it on thick for the audience. Which has the guild leader completely lost, having no idea where this monologue is going. So Gong Yuan continues his sob story, saying the strong get all these unfair stat bonuses just for existing, then asks if his daily training should count for nothing, complete with a visual of him hitting a tire with a stick. And the guild leader is actually starting to buy it, asking if he really trained for all this. So Gong Yuan goes full drama mode, talking about the endless suffering he endured as a lowly E-rank. And he leaps into the air, asking if all that hard work just means he gets treated like a monster, which leaves the guild leader totally flustered, stammering that is not what he meant at all. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery is completely sold, whispering about how they totally misunderstood him. And with a tiny, smug smile, Gong Yuan knows he's got them hook, line, and sinker. He then asks the guild leader if an S-ranker is really that much better than a human, while internally monologuing about manipulation. And 3 days later, we are at the very fancy headquarters of the Radiant Holy Church, where the fox girl is offering her master some grapes because he has clearly earned it. And it turns out our boy is in a hospital bed, dramatically asking the doctor if he is going to make it. So the doctor reads off a laundry list of injuries, broken bones, torn muscles, internal bleeding, and basically says to start planning the funeral. And the guild leader looks super guilty, admitting he did not hold back enough in their friendly match. Our boy is already back to his usual smug self, bragging about how it is a miracle he survived the S-ranker. Of course, the doctor immediately clarifies the only reason he is alive is because his wind gull unleashed a massive healing spell. This fox girl points out the bird is now a tiny chick from overexertion, which he jokes is probably his fault. With a smile, the doctor says he will make a full recovery in a few days, provided he stops trying to die. Relieved that the kid is not actually dying, the guild leader turns to leave the room, his job done. Gong Yuan puts on a grateful face, internally celebrating that his manipulation worked and the suspicion is gone. But just as he is about to leave, the guild leader pauses at the door, mentioning one last thing. Turns out the whole guild sent him a massive fruit basket, completely buying his hard work sob story. He explains that while taming monsters is weird, it is not technically illegal, so Gong Yuan is in the clear. Then he tells our boy to just ask the guild for help next time instead of going rogue and nearly dying. Gong Yuan immediately decodes this as a warning. Stop going solo because we are still watching you. Holding the tiny bird, he thinks the crisis is averted while the fox girl holds up a sign demanding recognition. A system window reveals the bird's B-rank healing skill, which is basically an infinite regeneration buff. He is suddenly confused, wondering why his true heart's protection skill did not level up like before. A quick check of his skill menu confirms it. The wind gull is not even on the list of his tamed pets. He immediately gets right in the tiny bird's face, accusing it of being disloyal to him. Slipping into full demon lord mode, he orders the fox girl to teach this junior a lesson in loyalty. His companion, however, is completely distracted, blushing over how hot her master is no matter what he is doing. Totally over it, he just clamps a hand over her mouth, telling the thirsty cat to be quiet. Leaning back, he figures that taming a monster and taming a human type are two completely different mechanics. In his past life, the wind gull's mate was killed by humans, which is why it went berserk for power. So he gives the tiny bird a pep talk, promising it a high-ranking spot when he is Demon King again. Suddenly, a key detail clicks. He was reborn 7 years ago, meaning the bird's mate is still alive. And he realizes the ultimate way to win its loyalty is to go save its wife, a classic hero move. Of course, the target is a legendary flame phoenix and a rank monster he definitely cannot solo. And he knows the guild leader will not just let him waltz in and claim a rank monster for himself. Looking out the window with the fox girl, he smirks, thinking it is time to find some useful cannon fodder. And right on cue, a very familiar car pulls up to the building below, carrying the sore losers from the Dark Army who are about to get played so hard. Meanwhile, inside the very fancy office of the Radiant Holy Church's guild leader, this guy himself is reading, telling his subordinate to keep a close watch on Gong Yuan. His subordinate questions the logic, pointing out that Gong Yuan is just a D-ranker with a couple of pets. But the boss is adamant, demanding to know every single move our boy makes. And the subordinate dutifully agrees, promising total surveillance on their target. Just then, another guy bursts in, frantically reporting that Gong Yuan was just kidnapped by the Dark Army, which has the guild leader absolutely losing it, slamming his desk in pure disbelief. Over at the Dark Army headquarters, the kidnapper's car arrives at the front entrance, where their leader is absolutely furious, yelling at his subordinate for bringing this mess to his doorstep. Gong Yuan just strolls in, casually roasting their interior design while the spear leader gets an earful. This boss is practically screaming that the guild is preparing for a huge raid and cannot afford this drama. This spear leader tries to play dumb, insisting Gong Yuan just randomly approach them on the street. But Gong Yuan immediately lays out their entire secret plan, using the wind gull to get a legendary weapon, which has the Dark Army's boss absolutely bug-eyed, wondering how this kid knows their deepest secrets. So our boy spins the ultimate lie, claiming the Radiant Holy Church's guild leader sent him personally. And he even explains their motive. They are losing ground without an S-ranker and desperately need that gear. Knowing he is right, the goons just resort to threats, demanding he hand over the bird or else. Gong Yuan just scoffs, reminding them they are on a very tight schedule thanks to his source. He then asks if they really think the S-ranker would just sit back while his agent is kidnapped, leaving the Dark Army guys sweating bullets as he spells out their imminent fiery doom. So Gong Yuan offers them a deal, cooperate with him to get the weapon before the cavalry arrives. It is their only shot, he explains, to gain the power they need to actually compete with the big dogs. This leader is still suspicious, demanding to know what Gong Yuan's real angle is in all this. Our boy just gives him a silent, knowing look because explaining is for people who are not masterminds. Instead, he gets all buddy-buddy, telling them their goals are aligned and that is all that matters. Leaning in, he delivers the final threat, asking if the boss wants to watch his guild get wiped out. Meanwhile, the fox girl is just having the time of her life, fawning over her master's evil genius routine. Back over at the Radiant Holy Church headquarters, the mood is a little more serious. A recording plays of Gong Yuan pledging his undying loyalty, vowing to infiltrate the Dark Army for the guild. And the entire guild leadership watches this Oscar-worthy performance, completely buying his double agent act. His former stalker then explains this video was conveniently left behind right before the abduction. This guild leader's subordinate explains the official story. Gong Yuan went undercover to confirm the Dark Army's plans for the legendary weapon, and based on how fast they kidnapped him, the subordinate is sure the intel is legit. They have swallowed the bait completely, which has the other guild members all misty-eyed, talking about how they totally misjudged his heroic self-sacrificing spirit. So the guild leader, now fully on board with the rescue mission, slams his fist down and orders everyone to prep for battle, declaring that for the guild's honor and for their brother-in-arms they will not fail this mission. While his men grimly agree that the Dark Army is ruthless and is probably torturing Gong Yuan as they speak. So the order is given, find out which dungeon they are in and bring our boy home. And we cut to that very dungeon, a volcanic hellscape where the Dark Army is fighting for their lives. Their leader is screaming at them to push forward at top speed against a horde of lava monsters, and parked nearby is a heavily armored van serving as a mobile base of operations, where our tortured hero is being fanned by the fox girl while complaining that the dungeon is too hot, even ordering the goons to bring him a cold drink, reminding them he is the key to their whole operation. And from his luxury seat, Gong Yuan smugly watches the carnage, noting the Dark Army is at least trying hard, as the spear leader directs his forces to clear the mobs and let the healers work before advancing. While Gong Yuan just chills on the fox girl's lap, calculating how the Dark Army will be perfectly exhausted when the cavalry arrives. Then he tells her to get them to speed it up because he is getting bored and wants to go home for dinner, which has one of the Dark Army grunts absolutely fuming, but his friend holds him back, telling him to endure it, And that same angry grunt immediately gets blasted by a monster. Karma works fast in this dungeon, which Gong Yuan witnesses from his cage with a completely unbothered "oh" as the guy hits the dirt. But just then a woman with a glowing spear appears, checking to see if the fallen soldier is okay. This woman with the glowing spear checks on the fallen grunt, looking completely unimpressed with the situation, and Gong Yuan suddenly recognizes her, the mysterious girl he saw once in a dungeon who then totally vanished. Realizing it was her true heart's protection that activated his own skills, otherwise he'd have forgotten she existed. So he puts two and two together. She saw the kidnapping and thought he was a genuine damsel in distress, which means she just beat up his carefully selected cannon fodder in a misguided rescue attempt. And our boy is absolutely panicking because this heroic intervention is about to ruin everything. Because right on cue, another squad from the Dark Army shows up, looking very confused and very angry. And their leaders are already convinced Gong Yuan set them up, fuming that they knew he was trouble. So now he is surrounded by a whole new mob of angry goons who are ready to tear him apart. But his would-be rescuer just steps forward, promising to carve him a path to freedom, bless her heart. So Gong Yuan immediately grabs her and covers her mouth, frantically trying to explain it is all a misunderstanding. While the fox girl holds up a sign for sincerity, because he really needs these guys for his dungeon run, which earns him a hard slap as she demands to know what the hell he is cooperating with kidnappers for. But our boy just gives her a smooth, confident smile, telling her he cannot explain right now. Instead turning to the Dark Army and declaring they all share a common enemy in the Radiant Holy Church. Though his rescuer is still confused, asking why he hates the church's guild leader so much. And we get a flash of his past life where he swore he was done living under his enemy's shadow. As his inner demon lord comes out vowing to crush the leader of the Radiant Holy Church, and speak of the devil, a portal rips open and the guild leader himself arrives with the entire cavalry. So Gong Yuan immediately starts his next performance, loudly declaring his undying loyalty for all to hear. Both the fox girl and his would-be rescuer are completely lost, wondering what is even happening anymore. Meanwhile, the Dark Army leader is having a full-on meltdown, realizing he just got played for an absolute fool. His grunts do not waste time thinking, immediately charging the Radiant Holy Church forces as the dungeon erupts into chaos. This church's guild leader leads the charge, screaming for his men to save their heroic, undercover agent. And just like that, the two guilds are at each other's throats in a massive, explosive brawl. Our heroic rescuer is just standing there, asking which side she is supposed to be on, a very valid question. But when she turns around, Gong Yuan and the fox girl have completely vanished from the scene. Gong Yuan internally admits the timing is a mess, but hey, two guilds fighting is still two guilds fighting. His actual plan was to lure them both to the boss's location so he could steal the Flame Phoenix in the confusion. Using a stealth skill, he and the fox girl watch the battle from above, hoping to stay completely unnoticed. But of course, the spear girl's companion immediately spots them because nothing can ever be easy. Gong Yuan just sighs, realizing this whole situation is getting way too complicated. Deciding he cannot just let her die, he tells the fox girl to hold on tight. It is time for plan B. He leaps right back into the middle of the fight, declaring he is going to borrow the spear girl's power. Landing with a dramatic stomp, he unleashes a shockwave that gets everyone's attention. Then he activates a demon skill, creating a massive frozen domain that spreads across the battlefield. This Radiant Holy Church's leader is stunned, wondering what kind of ability this is. Even the spear girl is in total awe, staring at the incredible power on display. Now standing in the spotlight, Gong Yuan's stealth effect is completely gone thanks to his own grandstanding. So he just smirks, figuring if he cannot be subtle, he might as well take center stage. With his big ice show over, Gong Yuan activates a blink skill to get the real party started, zipping into the sky with the fox girl and yelling that it is time for a grand performance. And he has got his signature smug grin on while his companion just tries to hang on for the ride. As the fox girl points ahead, sensing the foul energy of the dungeon's final boss. So they head straight for a jagged volcanic peak, the perfect lair for their fiery target. He recalls that this dungeon is famous for housing a legendary grade flaming sword, but it is a full-on raid instance, meaning it is packed with tough mobs and requires a huge team to clear. Which is why he never bothered with it in his past life, since he was not exactly a team player. But this time he is planning on taking home the boss, the gear, and all the glory. Down below, the Radiant Holy Church's leader just stares, wondering what on earth Gong Yuan is doing, while the Dark Army's boss points out that using a short-range teleport over lava is a suicide mission, and his spear-wielding subordinate just screams for his men to shoot our boy down before he gets away. All that shouting seems to have woken someone up, because the massive Flame Phoenix finally makes its appearance, and it is not happy about the party happening in its living room, immediately launching an attack, filling the entire sky with a terrifying volley of meteors raining down on the battlefield, which has every single guild member on the ground looking up in absolute pants-sweating terror. So the Dark Army leader frantically warns everyone to take cover from the massive bombardment, while his men just run around screaming that they are all about to be wiped out. So much for their tough guy act. Gong Yuan, however, is completely unbothered, smirking as he tells his secret weapon it is time to get to work. Then he opens his hand to reveal the tiny wind gull, who looks at the apocalypse with pure, unadulterated confusion. This sky literally explodes as the Flame Phoenix unleashes hellfire on everyone below. And both guilds can only brace for impact, completely caught in the blast zone. But when the smoke clears, the Dark Army grunts are somehow fine, wondering what just happened. While the church's leader realizes the wind gull's feathers just nullified the attack, a perfect elemental counter. Up above, the tiny bird has transformed, creating a massive energy shield to block the entire meteor storm, which gives Gong Yuan's former stalker a sudden, tear-jerking epiphany. He is convinced our boy flew up there specifically to sacrifice himself and save them all. Riding the giant bird, Gong Yuan looks every bit the hero, a sight that has the guild members swooning. Even the Dark Army guys are confused, asking why this kid would save his own kidnappers. Gong Yuan then addresses the crowd, claiming their fighting woke the boss, while the fox girl whispers that he planned this all along. As if on cue, a massive horde of lava monsters start swarming in from every direction, and he explains that once the bird's shield fails, they will be trapped between the mobs and the boss's fury. This church's guild leader tries to rally his men, but they know they are surrounded and totally screwed. So Gong Yuan delivers a moving speech about how he, a lowly E-rank, will not let them die here. He then summons a giant ice sword, declaring he will solo the boss to create an opening for everyone else, even entrusting his sister to their care before flying off on his noble suicide mission. His would-be rescuer is completely overcome with emotion, watching her hero fly to his doom. As Gong Yuan gives one last speech about how the weak should not be abandoned, the performance of a lifetime. With a final farewell, he and the fox girl ride off towards the volcano, leaving everyone in awe of his bravery. But the Dark Army leader refuses to retreat, fuming that they cannot let a rookie show them up. This Dark Army leader extends a hand to the church leader, proposing a very reluctant temporary truce, insisting he cannot just stand by and watch the spear girl die even if she is the enemy, and the two bosses agree that teaming up is the only way to minimize their losses now. So with a bitter handshake, the alliance is formed, all while Gong Yuan makes his grand escape. Our boy just smirks from above, knowing these guild leaders' pride is way more important than legendary gear. Then he orders his bird to fly faster and kite every single monster in the dungeon right towards them, telling the wind gull it is time for a reunion with its old friend, a very ominous way to describe a raid boss. And Gong Yuan explains his brilliant logic. As long as they are with the bird, the boss will not attack them. But the fox girl is already complaining that the volcanic heat is making her extremely uncomfortable, so he just gives her a quick head pat, telling her to hang in there until they deliver their little friend. Down below, the new allies are already getting swarmed, completely oblivious that they are the main course, because Gong Yuan's real plan involves some light blackmail, using the wind gull to persuade the flame phoenix. And right on cue, the fox girl snarls, sensing a disgusting presence nearby. They must be close. They have arrived at the lair, and the sheer power radiating from the Legion-grade boss is absolutely no joke. And there it is, the flame phoenix, looking less like a majestic bird and more like a terrifying demon from hell. So Gong Yuan puts on his best smile, introducing himself as the kind soul who rescued her precious wind gull. But the giant bird just hides behind him, clearly terrified of this little family reunion. In a shocking twist, the flame phoenix actually speaks, telling them to leave because it does not want to hurt them, which has Gong Yuan completely floored for a second. Wait, you want us to leave? That polite request is immediately followed by a furious, world-shaking roar from the very angry boss. This flame phoenix unleashes a world-ending beam of pure destruction right on top of them. But the little wind gull just spreads its wings, creating a shield that completely nullifies the apocalyptic laser. Gong Yuan immediately scoops up the fox girl and makes a break for it, as she yells at him to hurry up. And we get a chibi breakdown as the fox girl asks why the twin birds are fighting, a great question to ask mid-apocalypse. Snapping back to reality, the two birds are now locked in a furious aerial battle, shields clashing with fire. Turns out the flame phoenix is chained up and in agony, screaming that it cannot control its own body. Even as it begs them to run, its body unleashes another massive volley of fire against its will. Meanwhile, the wind gull dodges the onslaught, diving with a clear purpose in mind, while Gong Yuan and his companion can only watch from the sidelines, wondering what the bird is even doing. And there is the answer: it is not fighting the phoenix, it is attacking the magical chain that is binding it. This light bulb finally goes off for Gong Yuan. The boss is a puppet, and this is a rescue mission. His gaze follows the chain, which stretches across the lava pit toward an unknown anchor point, leading straight to a sword embedded in a rock at the center of the volcano, the source of all this chaos. And would you look at that, a convenient pop-up confirms it is a piece of legendary gear, with a closer look showing the chain is wrapped right around the hilt, making it the control mechanism. Gong Yuan explains the whole setup. The phoenix is a guardian, forced to attack anyone who gets near the sword. All this time, the wind gull has been trying to break the chain to free its family from this curse. A tragic fate for two siblings who are now forced to fight each other. Talk about family drama. Gong Yuan gets that signature smirk, announcing he will graciously take on this heavy burden and the legendary sword with it. He orders the fox girl to provide cover, and she immediately slams her hands down to cast a protective ice spell. This fox girl lays down a path of ice, giving Gong Yuan a runway right over the lava. With a classic villainous grin, he tells her to keep the boss distracted while he goes for the grand prize. But the flame phoenix is absolutely not having it, roaring that no one is getting near that sword. It immediately starts charging up a massive energy beam, so much for a polite conversation. Gong Yuan plants his foot, getting ready to make a mad dash across the fragile ice bridge, only to get hit by a massive wave of fire as his companion yells a warning that is a little too late. He just smirks, activating a skill and musing that it has been a while since he has had a proper fight. Then our boy unleashes a powerful counter-slash, carving right through the fiery onslaught. These two attacks meet in a massive, screen-shaking explosion of pure elemental chaos. Gong Yuan gets thrown back by the blast, completely losing his balance in the air, and he lands right in the phoenix's mouth, which is definitely not where you want to be. Trapped, he desperately screams for the wind gull to finally do something useful. Right on cue, the bird swoops down, blasting the phoenix with a concentrated beam of wind energy. This attack forces the massive boss to recoil in pain, dropping Gong Yuan from its jaws. Now he is just in a freefall, plummeting straight towards the sword and the lava pit below. He and the legendary blade make a dramatic splash right into the molten rock, a perfectly normal Tuesday. A moment later, he rises from the lava, sword in hand, triumphantly declaring he has got it. We get a nice close-up of the glowing weapon, confirming it is the legendary loot he came for. As he grips the hilt, the magical chain wrapped around it begins to crack and shatter. With a final flash of light, the chains break apart completely, finally setting the guardian free. This moment he grabs the hilt, the sword's magical chains snake around his arm, binding him to it. And of course, a system pop-up immediately grants him the Pioneer title for his heroic looting, which also reveals the sword's stats, including a tiny little drawback: it constantly drains his life force. But Gong Yuan just smirks, declaring the weapon is barely worthy of his old Demon King collection. His new toy in hand, our boy makes a graceful leap back across the lava toward his companion, landing perfectly and explaining that freeing the phoenix meant he got the legendary loot without a boss fight, efficiency at its finest. And in a show of gratitude, the now freed flame phoenix lands gently in front of them, bowing its massive head and formally thanking Gong Yuan for freeing it from its torment. With the pleasantries over, Gong Yuan remembers his main objective here, and it is not just the sword, so he just casually reaches out to pet the raid boss, announcing he will be taking it home now. And boom, a system card confirms it: one S-class raid boss successfully recruited, which has the fox girl ecstatic, as Gong Yuan notes the phoenix is now nerfed to D-class just like her. That terrifying, world-ending demon then poofs into a tiny, adorable bird that fits on his fingertip, leading to a very important question as he squishes the fox girl's cheeks: why did she get a human form? For all his trouble, a system window confirms his sincere guardian skill has leveled up twice, and the upgrades are pretty sweet. He can now read his guardian's moods and use two of their powers at once. His eyes widen as he realizes what this new ability really means for him. Because the legendary sword and S-class pet are basically just party favors next to this skill, and the final unlock at level 10 is revealed, a power ominously named Demon King's Shackles. With a triumphant grin, Gong Yuan declares that his core ability from his past life has finally returned. Gong Yuan launches into a full-blown Demon King monologue while the fox girl just stares, completely lost. And right on cue, the combined guilds are storming up the volcano, convinced the boss is waiting for them. Their members are all screaming about killing the boss and finally getting their hands on that legendary gear. But when they reach the top, all they find is Gong Yuan, very much alive and no boss in sight. Then everyone's gaze falls on the glowing red sword in his hand, and the horrible truth starts to sink in. This dark army leader is stunned, realizing the boss is gone and this rookie just played them all for fools. As they get surrounded, the fox girl immediately takes a defensive stance in front of her master. So the dark army leader steps up, offering to forgive Gong Yuan if he just hands over the sword. What a guy. From the sidelines, the church leader scoffs, knowing the dark army is just trying to rob him blind. And then the church guild makes its grand entrance, declaring Gong Yuan is their member, so the loot is theirs. One of the church guys even extends a hand, telling him to surrender the weapon for the guild's sake. This fox girl is now officially panicking, seeing they are trapped between two armies who want the same thing. It is a full-on standoff, with both sides demanding he hand over the legendary weapon immediately. In the crowd, his would-be rescuer just looks on, completely baffled about which side he is even on. Gong Yuan, however, is just enjoying the show, since his original plan was to use the sword to make them fight. But with his new power-up, he smirks, thinking that is probably not even necessary anymore. With a grin that screams bad life choices, he announces he is just gonna keep the sword for himself, which leaves both guild leaders completely dumbfounded by his sheer audacity. A blonde church member immediately starts yelling, accusing Gong Yuan of trying to steal guild property, and the church leader gives him a death glare, warning him a D rank cannot handle that sword without getting killed. This dark army leader scoffs, telling this rookie he has picked the wrong day to be brave, and with a shout, two of his goons immediately leap down to put Gong Yuan in his place. Except they completely ignore our boy and attack the confused church member instead. Talk about friendly fire. This guy is forced to defend himself, parrying their blades in a brilliant flash of golden light. From above, the dark army leaders just watch, completely stunned that their own guys started the wrong fight, while the rest of the church guild looks on, totally bewildered by this sudden, pointless brawl. Meanwhile, Gong Yuan activates his new skill, calmly announcing that his true power has finally returned, Then a terrifying demonic beast is summoned from the literal depths of hell right behind him. Our boy, now with white hair and a demonic aura, decides to let his new boss handle the cleanup. This new Legion-grade monster lets out a roar that shakes the entire volcano to its core. All the Dark Army members just freeze, their brains short-circuiting at the sight of a boss fighting asterisk for asterisk the rookie. Their leader grabs a panicking subordinate, yelling at him to get a grip since they came for a boss fight anyway. He then rallies his troops, ordering a full-scale charge against the new, very personal threat. In response, the demonic beast just opens its mouth and starts charging a world-ending laser beam. This Dark Army's front line scrambles to form a shield wall, ordered to hold their ground at all costs. A massive wave of fire then incinerates their formation as the leader screams at them not to retreat. His guild members swarm the beast, desperately trying to land a single hit on the colossal monster. From the sidelines, Gong Yuan casually notes that the Dark Army is putting up a surprisingly decent fight. He then smirks, revealing that this S-class pet is not his only one. Because a second, equally terrifying monster begins to emerge from a portal right behind him. And just like that, a giant ice wolf joins the party, freezing the Dark Army grunts in their tracks. One of them gets his feet stuck in a giant ice pop, not exactly the glorious battle he signed up for. Because surprise, that is the Fox Girl's true S-class form, now at 100% power thanks to her master. This Dark Army leader is losing his mind, trying to figure out how a D-rank pet just got an S-rank upgrade. So he orders his second-in-command to help him stall the wolf while everyone else focuses on the other boss. His troops are now getting absolutely wrecked, caught between a demon and a giant angry fox. And to make matters worse, someone points out the Flame Phoenix is regenerating its health. Turns out the Wind Gull is playing healer. Yep, the bosses are now a raid party of their own. Meanwhile, Gong Yuan just chills in the background, enjoying the absolute train wreck he has created, which of course sends the Dark Army leader into a full-blown rage spiral, screaming his name. Just as he is about to lose it, one of his own guys grabs him to snap him out of it. But the leader scoffs that it does not matter how strong the pets are, Gong Yuan himself is still a D-rank scrub. He then comes up with a genius plan: ignore the monsters and just kill the summoner, problem solved. A powerful beam attack flies right at our boy's head, but he does not even flinch. He casually blocks the wind scythe with a shield, activating one of his new guardian powers. Seeing him pinned, the Dark Army thinks this is their chance and orders a full-on dogpile. A whole squad of them leaps into the air, swords ready to turn him into a pincushion. They surround him from above, absolutely certain they have got him trapped for good. But Gong Yuan just smirks, calmly announcing he is activating his multi-skill module. Then he raises a hand, gathering a ball of pure energy ready to show them what a real boss looks like. He unleashes a wave of ice, instantly trapping the charging Dark Army grunts in a forest of frozen spikes. Then Gong Yuan casually holds out the legendary sword, asking if they still want to take it from him. A system window confirms he is now using the Phoenix's power, trading his life force for a massive damage buff. With a grin, he dares them to come and get it, swinging the blade with deadly intent, and carves a massive arc of pure fire right through the middle of their formation. This attack completely vaporizes the grunts who were foolish enough to be in its path. Their leader just clenches his fist, completely unable to process how this is even possible. Even the blonde church guy is stunned, realizing Gong Yuan is controlling two S-class pets at the same time, and all three of his guardians are now fighting at their full, terrifying potential. Gong Yuan stands there coolly, asking if he really still looks like a D-rank rookie to them now. This Dark Army leader's shocked expression is exactly what our boy was hoping to see, because the only thing he wants from these guys is their absolute, unfiltered fear. His two massive pets loom over the terrified guild, who are now frozen in place, which is enough for their leader to finally snap, screaming for a full-scale retreat. From the sidelines, the Fox Girl just looks on, completely bewildered by this sudden turn of events, while the church leader watches with cold, calculating hostility instead of panic. This Dark Army members are now in a full rout, screaming that Gong Yuan is a monster as they flee for their lives. But our boy is not quite done enjoying the show just yet. He grips his sword, musing that this feeling of overwhelming power is what he has always been used to. With a demonic grin, he declares this is how humans are supposed to look when facing their demon king. This Fox Girl's S-class form lets out a vicious snarl, ice erupting at her feet, while the Flame Phoenix roars in unison, bathing the battlefield in hellfire. And with the Wind Gull playing healer, the Dark Army grunts finally break, screaming that Gong Yuan is a monster. Their panicked retreat slams them right into the church guild, who are just standing there watching the show. A white-haired woman on their side stares in disbelief, asking if that is really Gong Yuan. This church leadership stands together, their face is a perfect blend of shock and calculation. That blonde guy is practically giddy, telling his boss that Gong Yuan is doing a great job wiping out their rivals. But the church leader shuts him down, warning him to look closer, that is not their rookie anymore. Because behind Gong Yuan, a massive, terrifying demonic entity with glowing purple eyes has manifested. His hair is now completely white and his eyes glow with a cold, inhuman power. A system window confirms it. His sincere guardian skill has vanished, replaced by something new. His alignment has officially tipped, granting him the monster pseudo status with a stat boost and a major social debuff. A bright red warning flashes. If he embraces this power fully, he will become a true monster as demonic marks appear on his skin. This transformation continues as his hand turns black, sprouting sharp, deadly claws. He recognizes this state from his past life, a side effect of using his Demon King's shackles. But this time, his guardian skill is acting as a buffer, the only thing keeping him from a permanent monster transformation. He just smirks at the so-called drawbacks like becoming an enemy of humanity, because a flashback to his brutal childhood confirms he never gave a damn about them anyway. Another memory shows him beaten in an alley, realizing no human ever stood by his side. This final flashback reveals he was once used as monster bait by other hunters, betrayed by the very people he was meant to trust. This final memory hits him left for dead by the very people he was supposed to trust. And looking up from the dirt, his younger self's eyes burn with pure, unadulterated betrayal. With a monster looming over him, he finally understands who he can actually rely on. So in the present, he decides he is fine with only having monsters by his side. Humans are overrated anyway. And his demonic form fully manifests as he declares he is perfectly fine with becoming a monster. Meanwhile, the church leader orders a calm, organized retreat, no screaming and running like the other guys, telling his guild to pull back and prepare to hunt this new demon after regrouping. Gong Yuan just scoffs, thinking they must be brain-dead to believe they can hunt asterisk him. As the church leader helps up his subordinate, our boy muses that all guardians are the same in the end. So gripping the flaming sword, he decides it is time to put everything back in its proper place, then unleashes a massive swing, ready to flip their entire world on its head, sending a tidal wave of fire barreling straight for the church leader, who does not even flinch. This guy just calmly raises his own sword, a blade of pure blue light, to parry the attack, which leads to a standoff, Gong Yuan's demonic fire against the church's holy blue. This church leader's eyes glow with power, but he has already made his decision. He actually turns his back, making a tactical retreat while he still has the chance, and with a wave of his hand opens several portals for his guild to escape through. Gong Yuan watches them go, annoyed that his Demon King skill is not strong enough to trap them yet. Now it is just him and his S-class pets, ready to embrace the monster life he was always meant for. But a system window confirms his guardian's skill has stabilized, letting him turn the demon mode off at will. Gong Yuan blinks as the demonic marks fade from his face, a little confused about what just happened, and his eyes shift from glowing purple back to their normal human blue, just as that white-haired church girl runs up, yelling that they need to escape before the dungeon closes. He immediately gets defensive, asking why she did not retreat and if she is trying to get herself killed. But she just fires back that there is no way in hell she was going to leave him behind alone, which leaves our boy completely stunned and at a total loss for words. She grabs his hand, declaring he is her family now, which actually levels up her guardian trust. A quick scene change shows they made it out just fine, now standing safely outside an apartment building. Inside, the fox girl is back in her usual form, happily stretching out on the bed after a long day of being a giant ice wolf, while Gong Yuan sits beside her, staring into a hand mirror to make sure the monster is actually gone. He confirms that with his monster state deactivated, all those cold, destructive urges have vanished too, which makes him wonder if his entire personality in his past life was just a side effect of his skills. This time around, he realizes his sincere guardian skill is the only thing keeping his humanity intact. As his fox girl complains about being full, he figures out that his pet's loyalty is what strengthens his power, and only those who genuinely protect him can balance out the Demon King's nasty side effects. That is when he notices the white-haired girl is just staring at him with a very intense look. She gets right up in his business and pinches his cheek, asking if he is really the Gong Yuan she knows, because his personality in the dungeon was absolutely nothing like the guy she is used to. A quick mental rundown reveals her actual opinion of him, a timid, weak, simple-minded pretty boy. He asks if she really thinks he is that pathetic, and she basically calls him a 360-degree rookie, a perfect circle of uselessness. This white-haired girl realizes only a total idiot would have left that dungeon just because she said so. Elsewhere, a completely different white-haired guy named Gong Yuan gets a warm welcome home hug from his sister. He gets all flustered when she pushes him onto the couch, asking about the danger she mentioned. Her mood flips instantly, asking if he is insane for making enemies of 2 major guilds at once. She lays it out for him. The church is already rallying other guilds to hunt him down. His sister even offers to go with him to apologize to their father, hoping to save his life. But Gong Yuan just gets up, telling her she's completely misunderstood the situation. He clarifies that the church is hunting the Demon King from the dungeon, not him, and with a smug grin asks what any of that has to do with a D-rank nobody like himself. Meanwhile, at the church headquarters, the leadership is regrouping after their little tactical retreat. This leader gets a damage report while his subordinates follow, planning their next move. He orders them to investigate anything Gong Yuan left behind for clues about his sudden power-up. Then he enters a hospital room to find Gong Yuan just chilling in bed, casually offering him an apple. Both the leader and his blonde lackey are completely stunned, barely able to say his name. A quick flashback shows Gong Yuan being captured and disarmed by church members. They had him completely pinned down, forcing him to drop his weapon after a fight, which makes his current super creepy apple offering feel just a little bit threatening. This church leader is absolutely furious, demanding to know how he dared to come back. Gong Yuan just plays innocent, claiming he has been in this hospital bed the whole time. This impossible alibi leaves the leader completely speechless, trying to process what he is hearing. Gong Yuan spins his tale, claiming he was just resting in bed when everything suddenly went black. He says he was dreaming of a dark vortex, and when he woke up they were just there. This blonde guy is absolutely not buying it, screaming that there is a limit to this kind of nonsense. But the church leader stops him, a sudden realization dawning on his face. Because Gong Yuan's story perfectly matches an S-class monster that can read minds and shapeshift. That monster's existence is top secret, so there is no way a rookie could possibly know about it. Which leads one of his men to ask if the demon king they fought was actually that monster in disguise. This leader's theory is now fully formed. The monster impersonated Gong Yuan to attack them, even copying his pets. Just as he is about to make a declaration, the leader raises his hand to silence the room. But Gong Yuan interrupts with a charming smile, apologizing for being the weak link the monster exploited. What a team player. He slowly gets to his feet, ready to make his big move, then bows deeply and formally requests to withdraw from the church guild entirely. His inner monologue confirms it is all a ploy to go solo and use his real power without suspicion. But his grand escape plan hits a wall when the leader flat-out refuses his resignation. Instead, grabbing him and demanding he join a top-tier joint attack group on behalf of the church. Our boy is just completely floored. His entire scheme just got spectacularly hijacked. A quick rundown explains these elite groups are formed by the strongest hunters to explore new high-level dungeons, showcasing a few of the badasses who scout new areas and hunt the most dangerous monsters. And it turns out the church leader is a key member of this very joint attack group, which is represented by a sleek silver emblem that probably means a whole lot of trouble. A quick reminder that only the absolute strongest hunters get into this exclusive club, which brings us to a completely different white-haired pretty boy, sulking in a corner somewhere else. He is complaining about why that bastard from the church would ever invite him to join, while someone shuffles around behind a changing room curtain getting dressed. A moment later, a white-haired woman steps out, talking up the group's amazing benefits and social status. And a pink-haired cat girl follows, worried that being in the spotlight will keep her from going all out. This new guy just sighs, his master plan to solo everything and rule the world now totally ruined. Apparently, the church leader used the "a monster might impersonate you" excuse to threaten him into joining. Oh, the irony. His two new guardians present their outfits, asking their master what he thinks. He just waves them off, grumbling that all the gear you can buy is overpriced D-rank garbage anyway. But one of them grabs his arm, telling him he is not getting away, he has to try his on too. He holds up the new clothes, scoffing at the trash stats and saying he knows where to find actual armor. But they shut him down, explaining this is not about stats, it is about his public image now. This concept is completely foreign to him, since in his past life he only ever hung out with monsters. A fantastic flashback shows his former self as a skeleton, thinking some rags and a pink ribbon were peak fashion. Back in the present, he has been forced into a fancy new uniform, admitting it is not that bad. For trash, he immediately throws a tantrum, refusing to wear it and be lumped in with the group's idiots. Suddenly, a man in very expensive-looking shoes steps into frame, telling him that is enough. This newcomer is furious, accusing him of just trying to show off for the girls, and he starts lecturing them about how the joint attack group members are heroes of humanity who deserve respect. His new guardian immediately jumps to his defense, telling the new guy to mind his own business. This new dude just scoffs, lecturing them that the group only accepts S-rank hunters. Then gets right in Gong Yuan's face, poking him while the cat girl glares. And our boy just coldly tells him to get his hand off him, his patience clearly gone. This absolute tool just sneers that even if trash like him got in, he'd fail the internal exam. Gong Yuan just plays dumb, asking what an internal exam, even his total blank face. Seeing an opening, the creep tries to poach his guardians, bragging about his connections and a party invite. Which just leaves the girls confused, with the cat girl wondering if this guy is offering to buy them dinner. He turns back to Gong Yuan with that same punchable face, trying to intimidate him into backing down. But Gong Yuan has had enough and just decks him right in the jaw with a lightning-fast punch, sending the loudmouth flying across the room as his bodyguards scramble to react. And as blue energy crackles around him, Gong Yuan calmly steps forward, not even breaking a sweat. His goons immediately surround him, but our boy just keeps walking toward their boss, completely unfazed. This dude pulls the classic "do you know who I am" card, his face already swollen into a balloon. But Gong Yuan just says that internal exam sounds interesting, so he will spare his life for now, and with a positively demonic grin he suggests that as thanks the guy can take him to that party. Elsewhere, a swirling black portal opens up on the side of a skyscraper, and a mysterious hooded person tumbles out, landing on the rooftop below, only to get blasted in the back by 3 bolts of bright blue energy, as another person steps out of the portal, crushing a dropped vial under their boot. This new S-rank hunter, Rui stands over the hooded attacker, telling them it is over. But her target just smirks back, looking completely unbothered by the whole situation. So Rui just points her energy pistol right at them, ready to end this little chase for good. But at that exact moment, her phone starts buzzing in her pocket, because of course it does. Answering the call, she is clearly annoyed as someone on the other end screams about a party she is late for. while behind her, a giant monster dog materializes to eat her as she casually lies that she is just changing clothes. She does not even turn around, just fires a few casual shots over her shoulder while still on the phone. And these blind shots nail the beast right in the face as she calmly tells her boss she will be there in 5 minutes. After the monster vanishes, she revises her ADA to 10 minutes, completely ignoring the panic on the other end, which leads to someone in a car furiously hanging up the phone. Inside, one of her teammates complains that she has zero regard for their public image, while a blonde girl defends her, then immediately pivots to telling her very smug-looking cat it is getting fat. This serious-looking guy in the suit decides they cannot wait any longer and have to go in first, and their limo pulls up to a massive red carpet event with crowds cheering for the attack group's arrival. From inside another vehicle, a helmeted figure watches the scene unfold. As that serious guy Yada steps out to a flash of cameras, confirmed as an S-rank from the church. Following him is the blonde girl, Aisha, another S-rank, who gives the crowd a cute little wave. And of course, the complainer from before, Jin Yu Cheng, is all smiles for his adoring fans now. This whole arrival is a massive spectacle, a total media circus for the so-called heroes of humanity. Up on a nearby rooftop, Gong Yuan and his guardian are watching, and he is already disgusted by how flashy they are. While his cat girl daydreams, Gong Yuan realizes the church leader will use the public announcement to force him into the group. He imagines just flipping a table and crashing the whole event, which would definitely solve his problem. But that would ruin his long-term plan to farm sincere protection from humanity, so he has to be subtle. This new strategy is to sneak in and find out what this internal exam is before they can ambush him with it. And more importantly, he has got to figure out why Yada, the church leader, is so damn fixated on him. Problem is, the entrance is completely locked down by security, so no one's getting in without an invite. So he moves to plan B, grabbing some poor sap and convincing him to be his ticket inside. With a truly demonic smile, he activates his Demon King's shackles to ensure the guy's full cooperation. A tiny flame then appears on his fingertip, a signal for something to happen, and it is immediately noticed by a small, hooded person peeking from a doorway who recognizes the fire. His cat girl suddenly screams a warning for him to watch out, as a massive, shadowy monster with glowing red eyes materializes right behind his back. Jiang Yuan's own eyes flash blue, sensing the new presence with total calm. In a blur, the hooded kid suddenly launches themselves into his arms, screaming, "Save me." Our boy is just completely stunned by this turn of events, utterly speechless. A system window then announces he has just acquired an S-class monster and leveled up his protection skill. He smugly wonders if his personal charm is just so potent that S-class monsters are literally throwing themselves at him now. But a red alert screen immediately shatters the mood, warning that his sincere protection balance is broken. Purple energy cracks across his face as he realizes the delicate power balance he maintained is completely gone. Just then, a heavy boot stomps into view, and it looks like the party has finally found them. Stepping onto the scene is Rui the S-rank hunter from the rooftop, who casually notes she has found 2 more monsters to deal with. Jiang Yuan glares back, recognizing her as a top-tier hunter from the attack group while still holding the kid who started this mess. With a smirk, Rui raises her glowing energy pistol, deciding she will just wipe them both out right here and now. But his cat girl guardian leaps into action, shouting for him to be careful as she summons a massive ice wall to block the attack. Rui just stares down the barrel of her gun, completely unimpressed by the defensive maneuver. She even scoffs from above, openly questioning if a little ice wall is really supposed to stop her talk about confidence. Then she unloads a volley of energy blasts from the air, raining down destruction on their makeshift cover. This ice wall shatters instantly under the barrage, sending the cat girl flying back in surprise. As the purple energy flares on his face, Jiang Yuan calls out his guardian's name, his patience officially gone. He immediately activates a skill, throwing up a spherical energy shield that deflects the incoming shots with ease. This blue blast just ping harmlessly off the barrier, not even scratching it. Rui seems mildly impressed, calling it a nice spell but smugly asking how long he thinks he can maintain it. Standing tall, Jiang Yuan shields his companions as she questions what kind of leader he could possibly be to a demon. His eye glows with a red targeting reticle as he activates a new skill, realizing this situation just got a lot more complicated. His Eye of Insight reveals her talent. She can create invisible energy conduits to guide her attacks perfectly. And a quick scan shows he is already completely surrounded by these conduits, meaning there is literally no escape. He is internally fuming. He just barely managed to fool the church leader, and now he is stuck fighting in his monster state. Glancing down at the monster clinging to him, he wonders if this was all a setup, while the kid just begs for protection. To make matters worse, the guy he was about to convince recognizes Rui and starts trying to name-drop his dad. Jiang Yuan's worst fear is confirmed. If that witness starts talking, his entire cover is blown for good. With his cover on the line, Jiang Yuan drops to his knees, calling the terrified witness master. He then orders his cat girl to get their master to safety while he holds off the attacker. Our witness is just completely shell-shocked, having no idea what the hell is happening. And the cat girl just grabs him, ready to make a run for it while he screams in protest. Rui is not having any of it, firing another blast and telling them they are not getting away. And her guided shot curves right after the fleeing duo, locking onto its target. But Jiang Yuan moves like lightning, intercepting the blast with his own blade. his glowing red eyes fixed on the attack as he deflects it perfectly. He even taunts her, saying her attacks are just following a preset path, totally predictable. Which leaves Rui genuinely shocked as her energy bullet is sliced clean in two. Gong Yuan flashes a demonic grin, declaring that as long as he is here, she will not touch his master. Meanwhile, the cat girl makes her escape by summoning a giant fish, literally dragging the witness away, a great catch indeed. This little monster who started all this then offers to help him fight, looking surprisingly earnest. And a system window confirms they are a faceless shadow with mimicry and shadow travel abilities. Gong Yuan just tells the injured kid to stay back, realizing this whole mess is actually a golden opportunity, a chance to use this monster's power to create a perfect alibi for his human self, which is perfect because Rui now assumes he is just another one of those shadow mimics. So he decides to go all out, channeling immense power into his blade. With his cover story accidentally secured, he is ready to have some real fun in this fight. And elsewhere, a woman watches the party, wondering if Gong Yuan could ever be loved by the public like these heroes. Elsewhere, Aisha thinks about Gong Yuan, determined that he will not have to wear that pained expression anymore, remembering that look of pure, cold loneliness she saw in his monster form. With newfound resolve, she decides she absolutely has to convince him to join their side. Back in the alley, Gong Yuan's sword erupts in a massive column of fire, and he unleashes a devastating flaming slash, fully committing to the monster act, forcing Rui to backpedal from the sheer force of his fiery assault. She's not backing down though, firing off a rapid volley of her own energy blasts, but our boy just weaves through the attacks like a phantom, completely untouched, parrying a direct hit with his blade as the two opposing energies clash spectacularly. From his perspective, Rui dives in for another strike, looking to end this quick, her face set with the cold, focused intensity of a top-tier hunter. Their blades lock as Gong Yuan snarls at her to die, the fight getting personal now. He activates a berserker skill, trading health for a massive boost in speed and power, not holding back at all, which clearly catches Rui off guard as she deflects another insane fire attack. And their clash culminates in a massive, building-shaking explosion. Meanwhile, in a quiet meeting room, Yada formally proposes that Gong Yuan should join the attack group. Aisha looks at his photo, while a helmeted teammate notes that this is a highly unusual request. Her smug cat, who is somehow the 8th seat, just scoffs that the kid is a total weakling. This helmeted guy, a pseudo S-rank, asks Yada if this is because of his special ability. And Yada confirms it, revealing his God's Revelation skill had a major reaction to Gong Yuan. Yada reveals his divine skill basically told him Gong Yuan is destined to change the entire world. But Jinyu Cheng, ever the brand manager, argues a D rank will ruin their image and suggests just locking him up. Yada gets intense, revealing there is a second, more pressing reason: he recently encountered a certain monster. And as if on cue, a massive explosion rocks the entire building, interrupting their little strategy session. Even the smug cat is startled, wondering what the hell all that commotion is outside. Down on the street, civilians are already filming the chaos, realizing a huge fight is happening upstairs. Back on the roof, Gong Yuan stands his ground, surrounded by flames and facing off against Rui energy. He is up against her S-class energy conduit ability, and he looks absolutely done with this situation. Her power lets her guide attacks and even accelerate bullets with terrifying precision. She can also channel that energy directly into her own body for a massive physical power-up. With a smug grin, she taunts him, asking if this is really all the power a monster like him has. Gong Yuan just smirks back, claiming he was just playing around, while internally admitting this is getting tough. He then spots his audience arriving on a nearby balcony, looking down on the whole show. It is Yada, the church leader himself, who now has a front row seat to the fight. His teammates are with him, and Aisha immediately asks if this flashy monster is the guy Yada was just recommending. Yada just watches the fiery battle, confirming that this monster is exactly his second reason. Now that his audience is here, Gong Yuan decides the game is over, activating a whole new set of skills. Rui is not phased, powering up her own energy conduits and asking if he is finally ready to get serious. He answers by unleashing a massive flaming vortex with his sword, a skill called Exploding Feather Blade. To counter, she creates a complex energy grid, a defensive technique she calls internal shaping. Gong Yuan declares the game is over, launching himself at Rui with a storm of fiery blade attacks. The sheer speed and power of his assault completely stuns Rui, who can barely react in time. Her confusion deepens as his fiery assault suddenly morphs, now laced with a strange blue energy. Turns out the little monster kid is helping, activating a skill to modify Gong Yuan's attack with wind. Diving into the fray, the kid declares that this fight is far from over. He then unleashes a fiery whirlwind of his own, getting right in Rui-er's face with a powerful counter. Rui-er is absolutely livid at this unexpected tag team maneuver, her face says it all. But out of nowhere, a new guy in a suit swoops in, yanking Rui-er to safety with a holy light slash. This newcomer manages to block the combined assault, shielding a surprised Rui-er from the blast. He then tells Rui-er to get going, acting all heroic despite clearly being a little stressed about it. Gong Yuan just watches as the duo makes a flashy escape in a beam of pink, flowery light. His foot touches down on a surprisingly soft surface, making him wonder if it is a carpet. This entire area has transformed into some kind of pastel nightmarescape, full of giant teddy bears and bunnies. A creepy cute girl on a cloud welcomes him to the human world, a place called Freedom City. Before he can even process this bizarre new reality, a huge helmeted brute with an axe appears behind him. And of course, the hero from before is here too, smug cat in tow, casually addressing him as Mr. Monster. Turns out he is completely surrounded by 5 members of the attack group, so much for a one-on-one. Despite the odds, Gong Yuan just smirks, sarcastically noting what a pity it is that the fun has to end here. This hero taunts him, asking if he really thinks he can escape, totally oblivious to the fire portal opening behind him. At least the cat is paying attention, pointing out the powerful flame aura coming from his escape route. Yada's eyes narrow as he identifies the monster's origin, a Legion-level dungeon called Purgatory Demon Mountain. Jiang Yuan, fully in character, asks if they really want a city-destroying boss on the loose. What a thoughtful villain. This helmeted hero scoffs at the monster for using hostages, calling him despicable for such a low blow. With a smug wave, Jiang Yuan bids them farewell, promising to see them next time before vanishing into the flames. All that is left is a scorched mark on the floor, leaving the attack group fuming at his clean getaway. Yada immediately turns to check on Rui, asking if she is alright after that intense clash. Rui, looking surprisingly casual for someone who just got wrecked, says she is fine but will need a few days to recover. Her cat, who is also the team's doctor apparently, scolds her for recklessly chasing monsters by herself. She just brushes it off, blaming the monster's tricky fire-boosted attacks and vowing to crush him next time. Aisha then asks Yada if that was the faceless shadow that mimicked Jiang Yuan, and he confirms it fits the profile perfectly. Yada explains that a top-tier faceless shadow can unlock its host's latent power, meaning Jiang Yuan must be insanely strong. Suddenly, Aisha understands exactly why Yada is so desperate to get Jiang Yuan on their team. Rui raises a good point, wondering if Jiang Yuan himself is the monster, but Yada dismisses it since he has been with the church. From the rooftop, Yada adds that he was watching the fight very carefully the whole time, and he points out that the real Jiang Yuan was spotted in the crowd below, leading someone to safety. This other version of Jiang Yuan urgently tells his companion to follow him, pulling her through the chaos. His companion is completely baffled, asking how he can be down here when she just saw him fighting on the roof. He just explains that the fire monster cannot open another portal for a bit, totally dodging the question. Now they have to find a natural entrance to her dungeon, leaving the girl even more confused. Just then, a cloaked figure appears from a purple portal, announcing that their master is waiting for them. Jiang Yuan's vision blurs and he hears a concerned cat girl asking if her master is injured. His mind flashes back, questioning why this familiar face is wearing the Demon King's uniform. His old subordinates appear in the memory, scoffing that no mere human could ever harm their lord. Then he sees it, a vision of himself as a true demon lord commanding a legion of monsters. This memory solidifies as he sits on a throne, realizing he is their king destined to lead them all. Snapping back to reality, his companion urgently calls out his name, breaking him from the trance. She is clinging to him in the fiery dungeon, demanding to know why he just picked a fight with the attack group. Jiang Yuan just casually explains he ran into an S-class monster and got spotted by that crazy lady. You know how it is. He admits his body reverted to its monster form and those flashes were just memories of being the Demon King. But it is more than that, his mind is being corrupted, which is why he actually tried to kill Rui back there. His friend asks if this is a side effect of his powers, wondering if there is any way to control it. He confirms that human emotions help, but he is absorbing monsters way too fast for that to be a real solution. After all, as the Demon King, he commands tens of thousands of monsters, a power that is hard to contain. This leads him to a grim conclusion: to get stronger, he can never truly coexist with humanity. He apologizes, knowing she wants him to fit in, but says he has a fix for the whole needing recognition problem. Jiang Yuan is completely lost by her sudden change of topic, asking what on earth she is talking about. With a brilliant smile, she whips out her phone, presenting her YouTube account as the ultimate solution. A quick look at the screen reveals she is a vlogger with a whopping 100,000 followers. Our boy is absolutely floored by the numbers, while she smugly explains the power of being an influencer. Apparently, content about monster analysis and dungeon guides is a massive crowd pleaser in their world. She explains that being a hot, powerful, awakened person makes for killer livestream content. And scrolling through the comments, she hopes at least some of her fans are genuine. Jiang Yuan realizes that with 100k followers, even a tiny fraction would be enough recognition to boost his power, which immediately leads to a horrifying mental image of him debuting as a cute maid streamer. Absolutely not. His friend laughs it off, telling him he does not need to go that far for attention. Instead, she squishes his face and says the real solution is for him to join the attack group. Because those guys are basically the biggest celebrities on the planet, with millions of fans each. Even their pets are superstars, with some of the most popular members having tens of millions of followers for a cat. Back in his dungeon, Jiang Yuan explains that while the staged fight cleared his name, joining the team is way too risky. Just then, the little monster kid reports that some unwelcome guests have arrived in the 3rd level of the Gloom dungeon. This kid then formally offers the service of his entire faceless shadow clan to help their master. A sly grin spreads across Jiang Yuan's face as he considers the possibilities of having an army of shapeshifters. His vlogger friend worries they would not send a rookie into an uncharted zone, plus there is an entrance exam. But Jiang Yuan just scoffs, claiming those so-called heroes are the easiest people in the world to manipulate. He then turns to his subordinate, asking for a progress report on absorbing the surrounding dungeons. A fiery phoenix-like monster confirms they have already doubled the number of fire monsters under his command. With his forces growing, a dark portal swirls open for Jiang Yuan's next move. He tells his crew to stay ready before stepping through, leaving them to manage the fort. Elsewhere, a blonde girl with the attack group suddenly notices the smug cat is acting weird. This cat looks grim, sensing that the descent of the third level is happening way faster than it should be. Inside his dungeon, Jiang Yuan decides it is time to give the heroes a proper introduction. He unveils his new look, ready to show them what a truly dangerous monster is capable of. And to really sell the act, he's got some intimidating backup like this massive rock golem. At a press conference, Jiang Yuan, in full disguise, briefs the public on the new dungeon level. Immediately, a reporter calls him out, asking how a D-rank nobody even got into the attack group. Our boy just smiles, smoothly trying to deflect by saying that is not what the event is about. But the press hounds him, asking if he bribed his way in or has a special relationship with Yada. Jiang Yuan just soaks it all in with a smug grin, clearly enjoying the chaos he has created. Just then, Jin Yucheng teleports in, complaining that he has been on stage for 3 seconds without a single photo. With a single pose, every camera in the room swivels to him. The man knows his brand. Putting on a show, he slings an arm around Jiang Yuan, telling everyone how much they love the new guy before borrowing him. A swirl of pink, flowery energy signals his very dramatic exit from the stage. This two of them are whisked away into the air, leaving the rest of the team behind in their sparkly dust. Once they are clear, Jiang Yuan thanks his senior for the save, playing the part of the grateful rookie. Jin Yucheng immediately drops the act, calling him a useless pretty boy who cannot even handle the media. Back in the command center, the blonde girl tells them to focus on the real mission, tackling the third level. A tech reports that the Gloom Dungeon's third level is destabilizing fast, giving them only 7 days to act. Team assignments are handed out, pairing the insufferable Jin Yucheng with the big helmeted brute. Yada gets partnered with a stern-looking woman who seems to specialize in daggers. And finally, the blonde girl and her cat will handle monster suppression, because of course the cat is on the payroll. This blonde girl sighs, assigning Jiang Yuan to the logistics team to set up supply camps along the way. Yada vouched for him, so he and his cat-girl companion give a confident thumbs up. She has even got a sign. She assures the others that the experienced logistics manager will keep an eye on him, so it'll be fine. This manager gives a slightly unsettling smile, promising to take very good care of their new rookie. With the teams ready, the blonde girl summons a glowing, winged sword to get things started. She then unleashes her domain, Freedom City, wrapping the area in her signature purple energy. And just like that, the gloomy dungeon is replaced by her pastel wonderland as she declares the mission has begun. This team step through her newly created portal, entering the third level of the dungeon. Now inside the cavernous new territory, Jiang Yuan and his crew are ready to move out. He is pretty impressed by her ability to just imagine a dungeon entrance into existence, a power befitting her title. Yada gives a final briefing, telling the teams not to stress since monster density is low but to call for help if needed. Playing the part of the perfect rookie, Jiang Yuan thanks his seniors and promises to work hard. What a good boy. With the plan set, the different squads immediately split up to tackle their objectives. Jiang Yuan and his cat girl are left behind with the logistics crew, watching the main force depart into the darkness. His companion whispers that the plan worked since most of the attack group seems to trust him now. But Jiang Yuan just smirks, explaining that humans are not like monsters, they are experts at hiding their true feelings. In reality, he knows none of them trust him, not even Yada, and they are all just waiting for him to slip up. Trying to lighten the mood, she pulls out her phone to show him his new followers, hoping some are real fans. He bluntly tells her not a single one is they are all just like the reporters waiting for a disaster. A quick look at his social media confirms it is a tidal wave of hate, making him realize he needs a big win on this mission. Jiang Yuan asks the creepy logistics manager if the supplies are ready, but the guy is already plotting. With a sinister grin, the manager activates some kind of C-class restraining device. Suddenly, Jiang Yuan's cat-girl companion is zapped and bound by a power-dampening collar. This manager then orders his men to throw Jiang Yuan to the monsters, calling him useless. But Jiang Yuan just gives him a cold stare, reminding this clown that he is supposed to be his subordinate. This guy just scoffs, revealing that this camp is the only communication hub in the entire dungeon. In other words, whatever happens here, no one from the outside will ever know, a classic villain monologue. His companion is absolutely livid, her eyes glowing as she tries to fight back against the restraints. A painful surge of energy from the collar forces her to her knees, completely neutralizing her. This manager then offers her a new job as his pet since she cannot escape. What a gentleman. No one will know, Jiang Yuan repeats before dropping his disguise and revealing his true form to the terrified crew. At that exact moment, his army of faceless shadows begins to pour out of dark portals. This entire camp is immediately swarmed by shadow monsters, catching the logistics team completely off guard. These goons are getting absolutely shredded, proving they are all talk and no fight. One of them screams for help as a shadow beast lunges, while Jiang Yuan and his friend just watch. Our boy smirks, commenting on how lively his new minions are. He is clearly enjoying the show. This remaining crew decides to just leave Gong Yuan behind as a convenient monster distraction. In a truly pathetic move, the manager pulls a weapon and orders Gong Yuan to go protect them. One of his lackeys grabs a radio, thinking Gong Yuan can at least buy them time to call for help. But as he tries to use it, the device instantly freezes solid in his hand, leaving him completely stunned. Gong Yuan casually runs the manager through, deciding not to bother the A-team with this little HR issue. He then gives the guy a smug SHHH, asking him to keep their little chat confidential permanently. This manager's last living thought is realizing the cute cat girl is also a monster, which is just fantastic timing. With that, his hand goes limp, dropping the uselessly frozen radio, and the device clatters to the ground, officially ending his career in logistics. But of course, that is the exact moment Yada's voice crackles through, asking if everything's okay. Surrounded by bodies, Gong Yuan calmly reports that everything is okay, not a single thing to worry about. After the cleanup, he is just glad Yada did not see the mess because that would have been an awkward conversation. His catgirl companion then pops up, completely oblivious and fangirling over how cool the other heroes are. He just gives her a head pat, explaining there is a difference between monsters and his monsters. Just then, the little shadow kid reports that his clan has successfully taken over the entire camp, and he introduces a massive shadow werewolf as the clan elder who is here to discuss a partnership. Gong Yuan is definitely intrigued by the offer of a formal partnership from a monster clan. This werewolf, for its part, just lets out a menacing snarl. Great start to negotiations. Before transforming into an elegant woman who says they need his help escaping this world fragment. He has never heard a dungeon called that, immediately asking her to explain what she means. She reveals their entire city was torn from its reality and is now about to crash into his world, and their prophets have foreseen total annihilation when that happens, prompting a desperate search for a solution. Unfortunately, every human they have met so far has been hostile. He is the first one they can actually talk to. Gong Yuan just thinks to himself that it is just a perk of being the Demon King, nothing too special. Gong Yuan reflects that in his past life, his monster companions were just mindless puppets with no memories. So the fact these shadows remember their home world is a huge deal, and the Elder is begging for his help. With a sly grin, he realizes this is intel he never got as the Demon King and wonders if the heroes are clueless. Our boy clarifies the deal. They basically need him to provide a safe landing zone for their entire civilization. She eagerly agrees, promising the eternal friendship of the whole faceless shadow clan if he helps. Wow, friendship. Gong Yuan just scoffs, a flame dancing on his fingertip as he tells her he has absolutely no need for that. In this fiery landscape, the negotiation takes a very clear turn for the worse. He lays it out plain and simple. He is not interested in partnerships, agreements, or any of that sentimental junk. Behind him, one of his new fire monster minions from the absorbed dungeon makes a very pointed appearance. Then a cute little bird creature lands on his finger, and he tells her there is only one thing he needs from them. And that one thing is simple, for them to submit to him completely, which she clearly did not see coming. In full demonic glory, he lays out the new terms. Serve me as your king and I will be your shield. Meanwhile, a new black-haired guy stands over some dead bug monsters, confirming Yada's earlier call was just a test. A small, humanoid monster begs for its life, pleading with him to let it go. He coldly notes that even monsters in this undeveloped level will mimic human pleas for mercy. Raising his glowing blue sword, he says it does not matter since they will all become man-eaters when the descent is complete. His face is pure ice as he decides the only solution is to just kill them now. Back to Gong Yuan, who materializes a glowing chain, explaining that the grace of a king is not some cheap handout. This chain snaps around her neck, and he tells Ziwir to show him her sincerity. Defeated, she bows her head and begs the king to grant her clan his protection. He has got her cornered. Gong Yuan yanks the chain, taunting that her words sound nice, but he feels zero actual submission. This little shadow kid pops up, announcing the elder is thrilled to serve and has already compiled all the dungeon intel. Our boy decides to just merge her magic chain with the obedience collar from the dead manager, waste not, want not. Now sporting some new, less threatening neckwear, she quietly accepts her fate with a simple yes. She immediately gets to work, explaining that besides her clan, 5 other major monster factions rule this place. And we get a lovely little gallery of the local competition, a beholder, some bat things, and a giant bug. Gong Yuan just grins, realizing that once this dungeon fully merges, these guys will be Legion-level bosses. But Ziwir warns him that the other factions are mostly violent idiots who cannot be reasoned with. He just pats her shoulder, telling her that is not her problem to worry about, he has got this. Gong Yuan then gives the surviving logistics crew their new job, help him become the hero who saves the attack group. His new minion is understandably confused, questioning what on earth he means by save. She points out the heroes are actually doing great, cautiously exploring and avoiding the big bosses. In fact, the blonde girl and her cat seem to be having a perfectly lovely time in their pastel wonderland. Gong Yuan is not bothered in the slightest, just brushing off her very valid concerns. With a truly evil grin, he declares that if they do not need saving, he will just have to create a crisis for them. Meanwhile, Jin Yucheng is gracefully slicing up some bug monsters with his signature pink flare. He strikes a dramatic pose over the carnage, monologuing about protecting the world he loves. Then he turns to the camera, vowing to die before letting the monsters pass. He is really selling it for the gram, and his cameraman is none other than the big helmeted brute who confirms the shot is perfect. Jin Yucheng takes the phone, ready to edit the footage for his next viral video. A hero's work is never done. Jin Yucheng suggests they go poke the giant monster they found, for science and content. His cameraman, however, insists they just mark its location and wait for backup, not get themselves killed. With a dramatic sigh, Jin Yucheng complains his true battlefield is social media, not this dirty dungeon. But then his influencer senses start tingling because something is definitely not right. A sudden flash of energy forces the cameraman to the ground as Jin Yucheng yells a warning. A fire-type rock monster materializes, and he recognizes it as one that speeds up the dungeon's descent. Looking up, they see an entire squad of them has already spread through the cavern, which is not great. This helmeted brute just shrugs, saying they should just clean them up since they are mostly D-class weaklings. Jin Yucheng, however, tells him to wait, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. He wonders what they are up to since the monsters are just standing on the cliff edge, glowing ominously. Turns out they are not attacking, but channeling their energy into the giant sleeping monster from before. A single, massive red eye snaps open. Looks like nap time is officially over for the big guy. Suddenly realizing their mistake, Jin Yucheng grabs his cameraman and yells for them to get out of there. Behind them, the massive insectoid monster rises, its glowing eyes fixed on its new snacks. It gives chase, and the very ground erupts with purple energy spikes, barely missing them. But his luck runs out as a blast of that energy slams right into his back. Before he can even hit the ground, a massive claw snatches him right out of the air. He gets a lovely, up-close view of the monster's mouth, which is just full of teeth. And just when it looks like he is done for, he smirks, telling the monster, "Gotcha, you stupid bug." Turns out the cameraman is the real heavy hitter, now glowing with power and ready to strike from behind. This cameraman finally reveals his S-class demon form, ready to bring the pain. He brings his massive weapon down on the bug monster with overwhelming force. And the impact absolutely shatters the ground in a flash of light. Jin Yucheng is just glad his face is okay, admitting the brute's speed is at least a class influencer priorities. His partner stands over him, noting the bug's armor is ridiculously tough, which makes perfect sense since it is a provisional S-class Legion boss. Meanwhile, Gong Yuan's crew watches the chaos unfold from a safe distance, enjoying the show. With our boy noting the bug is just a mindless beast that will attack anything in sight. His cat-girl companion is thrilled, thinking he just needs to swoop in and be the hero now. But Gong Yuan just smirks, saying there is no hurry since they are not dead yet. Back in the fight, the S-class bug is absolutely thrashing the two heroes, proving why it is a Legion-level threat, though the helmeted brute is still standing, ready for another round. He gets completely overwhelmed by the monster's assault, showing even two powerhouses are struggling. So Jin Yucheng leaps in for a precision strike, aiming for the creature's massive eye. But he stops midair, sensing something is terribly wrong, because a beam of pure energy erupts from the bug's eye to meet his blade. This resulting explosion completely engulfs him in a flash of red and black energy. And just to make things worse, another massive bug lord appears from behind. This new arrival is a terrifying beholder, another A-class Legion boss joining the party, leaving Zhuir stunned since that monster is way outside its designated territory. This little shadow kid pops in, explaining he impersonated the influencer to kick a werewolf and start this whole mess. Gong Yuan gives him a pat, and the kid is just grateful for the bird bodyguard that saved him from an eye beam. And speaking of which, the beholder is now firing a massive laser because it is, quote, super angry. Back on the ground, Jin Yucheng checks on his cameraman, asking if he is even still alive after that thrashing. But the brute just gets up, a gaping hole in his chest already healing as he reveals his ability is undying. Jin Yucheng is absolutely furious, complaining that this is way above his pay grade and Yada should be doing this. His partner tells him to just leave and get back up since he is the only one fast enough to escape. For once, Jin Yucheng actually acts like a hero, refusing to abandon his cameraman. What a shocker. This brute insists it is their only shot since his injuries are so bad he can barely teleport himself, let alone two people. Defeated, Jin Yucheng agrees to go, promising he will be back as fast as he possibly can. He teleports away, leaving the brute to hold the line and mutter threats about killing Gong Yuan if the comms are not fixed. Now alone, the helmeted hero summons a massive, blocky greatsword glowing with icy power. He powers up, declaring himself the Undying as his S-class demonization ability fully activates. Watching from afar, the cat girl asks if it is finally time for them to swoop in and save the day. Gong Yuan agrees it is time to make a move, drawing his own fiery blade. But clarifies they are not helping the heroes, they are helping the asterisk monsters. Perfect. We then flash back to the world before his rebirth with a guy hammering on a cabin roof by a waterfall. It is Gong Yuan's past self looking content after finishing some home repairs, a far cry from his current vibe. He reflects on a simple life, free from the betrayals and backstabbing of his old team. On the roof with some monster pals, he decides living with monsters is way better than human neighbors. In his past life, Gong Yuan muses that his ability to befriend monsters is probably why humans hated him so much. He just wanted to live a quiet life, but a massive werewolf monster suddenly appeared to ruin his day. This thing immediately slams him right through the roof of his cabin, so much for a peaceful retirement. Towering over him, the beast looks absolutely ready to tear him to shreds. He is completely baffled, wondering where this unfamiliar monster even came from. After all, he was on a first-name basis with all the local wildlife, so this guy's clearly a tourist. Trying to be diplomatic, he insists he does not want to fight and they can just be neighbors. This werewolf's response is to activate its monster contract ability, its eyes glowing with pure murder intent. It brings a massive claw down to finish him off. But the person it hits is a completely different white-haired guy who seems just as surprised. This werewolf is stunned, its own claw shattering as it wonders why its power completely failed. Suddenly, glowing blue ribbons wrap around the beast, restraining it on the spot. A trio of fancy-looking heroes arrives on the scene, here to retrieve their lost teammate. One of them notes how severe the guy's demonization is as the werewolf just snarls at him. These magical bindings tighten, forcing the massive creature down to its knees. With a tranquilizer administered, the werewolf reverts back to a normal, unconscious human. One of the heroes then spots the actual injured person, our boy Gong Yuan, who they mistake for a random player. This blonde leader tells them to hurry and retrieve their S-class teammate because he is way too important to lose. Nearby, the apple he was eating lies in a pool of blood, a stark reminder that the monster was once human. And lying there bleeding out, Gong Yuan finally understands his unique powers are exactly why he was cast out. Lying there, he finally gets it. His old monster contract was just a C-rank joke, but his new S-rank Demon King's shackles means he lost last time simply because he was weak. Back in the present, Gong Yuan vows that this time around they will get a proper introduction. He steps onto the chaotic battlefield, ready to face the S-class hero and his two monster problems. This beholder immediately opens fire, blasting the brute with a massive eye laser. But the undying hero just tanks the beam head-on with his enormous ice sword. While he is busy, a smaller flying bug monster dives in for a classic cheap shot. It smashes right into his helmet, a solid hit that clearly rattles him. This impact sends him stumbling back, showing he is getting overwhelmed by the swarm. He spins into a wild counter, swinging his blade in a wide arc to clear the air. One of the bugs gets absolutely flattened, slammed right into the ground with brutal force. After the strike, his demon form intensifies, looking more like a werewolf as he catches his breath. His eyes glow red as he senses a new presence, wondering what is next. Looking up, he calls out, asking if the mastermind is finally going to join the party himself. And right on cue, Gong Yuan descends from the shadows, flaming sword in hand. Our boy dives in, bringing his fiery blade down for the finishing blow. But the brute raises his own sword, ready to meet the attack head-on. As their blades are about to connect, the brute screams for Gong Yuan to just die. These two powers collide in a massive explosion of purple and orange energy. Gong Yuan just smirks, impressed that the guy can create that much force with pure unga-bunga strength. Gong Yuan casually notes the brute is definitely S-class, just as he expected. And the brute finally recognizes him. He is the shadow demon Yada was so paranoid about. Our boy just taunts him for using the same tired tactics from civilians to Legion bosses. He calls this whole mess a greeting, which is one way to describe attempted murder. Gong Yuan then points out that his sword is already cracked, a sign of things to come. He explains the mindless monsters could not do the job since they'd just fight each other. This brute is clearly straining, and Gong Yuan is surprised he even survived the first wave. So now our boy decides he will just have to finish the job personally. How considerate. He unleashes a massive fire attack, forming a giant phoenix of pure destructive energy. With his blood-burning technique active, he dives in for a devastating overhead strike. But the undying hero roars, swinging his own massive sword up to meet the challenge. Their blades connect in a blinding flash of light and raw power. This resulting explosion sends both of them flying back from the sheer force of the impact. Gong Yuan uses the momentum to pivot, swinging around for a lightning-fast counter. He even has time for a classic villain taunt, telling the brute he is just too slow. His flaming sword slips right past the block, aiming straight for the brute's chest. Except the brute just grabs the blade with his bare hand, growling that he has got him now. Our boy is genuinely impressed, admitting that is some serious S-class demon strength. With the blade locked down, the brute raises his own sword, declaring this is the end. But then his hand starts getting encased in a thick layer of ice. Wait, what is happening? Turns out the cat girl is the one freezing his hand, unleashing her own Arctic domain ability. He is completely unimpressed, asking if another S-class monster is supposed to be enough to stop him. And just to add to the fun, an entire audience of creepy little shadow ghosts appears overhead. This is their handiwork as a new purple-haired woman and a kid join the party, hands glowing. Their combined power traps the undying hero in a massive prison of solid ice. From inside his ice cube, he calls them despicable for bringing so many friends, a bit rich coming from a hero. Gong Yuan just smirks, saying they are all monster-type users, they just have different methods, that is all. But the brute starts putting two and two together, realizing what that means as he heats the blade. And with a massive surge of heat, he shatters the entire ice prison from the inside out. Huge shards of magical ice rain down, the trap completely broken. Of course, the cat girl immediately runs over to Gong Yuan, asking for praise like a kid who just got an A on a test. This purple-haired woman calls him despicable for using his whole clan to ambush one guy, pot, meat kettle. Our boy just holds his companion close, saying it is far from over and this is how he should have handled these heroes before. This little shadow kid points out that the brute was shattered to pieces, wondering why he is not dead. Because demonization lets you recover from injuries by just getting more asterisk demonic and his pieces start glowing. All the pieces fly back together because as an S-class he can revive from anything if he gives up his humanity, earning his title, the Undying. His new ally is understandably freaking out, asking why they are fighting an unkillable monster if his goal is to be a hero. Gong Yuan just gives her a chilling smirk, confirming that yes, he wants to be a hero, and that is exactly why he needs a proper antidote, as the brute reforms into an even more monstrous, rage-fueled demon. And it looks like his antidote is this creepy spider thing waiting in a place called the Dark Hell. Perfect. Meanwhile, a new dapper-looking hero notes how the spider monster he just killed is dissolving into shadows. A floating witch girl pops in with her cat, asking how their boy Jin Yu Cheng is doing. Turns out, not great. He's got broken bones and massive internal bleeding from teleporting while injured. A new S-class healer is patching him up with energy threads, but warns it'll take hours before he is stable. Jin Yu Cheng just grits his teeth, telling them to forget him and go rescue his partner. This witch girl cannot believe their luck, running into 2 Legion-level bosses at the same time. Her stoic leader agrees it is weird, but decides they are going to retrieve the missing brute anyway. He orders the healer to stay behind and keep working on Jin Yu Cheng while trying to get comms back online. This just makes Jin Yu Cheng rage about Gong Yuan messing up their comms in the first place. Suddenly, their equipment starts crackling with an incoming signal. This leader picks up and it is a call coming directly from their base camp. On the other end is Yada, who immediately starts barking orders at someone he thinks is Gong Yuan. But his threats are drowned out by his own men screaming for Lord Yada to save them in the background. This whole team is stunned to hear their base is under attack by some horrible monster. He tries to get more info, but the line is just a mess of panic, screaming, and static. His witchy companion wonders what is going on since the dungeon should not have this many powerful monsters. She insists they have to go back because all their supplies are there, lose those, and the mission's over. Despite being held together by magic threads, Jin Yu Cheng tries to volunteer, saying they cannot abandon his partner. This healer immediately shoves him down, telling him to shut up and stop trying to die, tough love at its finest. So the leader makes a call. He and the witch girl will go find the brute, trusting she can handle 2 bosses. This witch girl's cat confirms it is ready to possess the brute's body if things go south. What a helpful little demon pet. She then asks their leader, Yada, if he will be okay at the base camp alone against another potential Legion boss. But he is not worried, explaining his holy light attribute is basically a hard counter to every monster in this dungeon. With a final warning that this place feels wrong, they split up to find their missing teammate and regroup later. Of course, one of Gong Yuan's spies is watching, immediately reporting that Yada is now heading to the camp all by himself. Back with our boy, he is leading the fully reformed Undying hero right into his trap, stage setting complete. To keep the brute occupied, his cat girl companion summons her ice powers once again. She unleashes a massive wave of ice spikes, trying to slow the rampaging monster down. Gong Yuan explains that the brute's power lets him regenerate infinitely by absorbing demonic energy. This trade-off being he becomes a mindless beast, which he demonstrates by smashing the ice to bits. Just then, the spy reports that Yada is about to arrive, right on cue for the main event. With perfect timing, Gong Yuan gets on his comms and tells his other allies to fall back. It is showtime. He and the cat girl stand before the massive brute, taunting him about what to do with such a dangerous monster. This enraged creature roars and lunges forward, ready to tear them apart, when a massive pillar of holy light suddenly blasts down from the sky, engulfing the brute completely. Yada has arrived, and his opening move is to nuke his own teammate, sending our boy flying from the shockwave. This hero leader looks down at the chaos, his expression dead serious. And Gong Yuan immediately starts his Oscar-worthy performance, begging Yada to save them from the monster that killed everyone. His companion whispers, asking if this plan will actually work, but Gong Yuan just gives her a look that says, "Trust me." Yada stares down his transformed partner, now forced to wonder if his own ally would really betray him. Gong Yuan just smirks, agreeing with Yada's assessment of his own teammate's past. And we flash back to a younger Yada, explaining how humans are just so predictable. It all started with a gambling debt, a guy begging for one more loan to clear his name. But his creditors are fresh out of sympathy, beating him down for losing all his gear. This lead thug gives him 1 week to pay up before things get a whole lot worse. Left in the rain, the guy just mutters about needing one more big win, the gambler's prayer. He suddenly looks up, hearing a voice cut through the downpour. A sharply dressed Yada appears, asking if he is the D-rank monster user Lucishin. Lucishin just tells him to take whatever he wants, completely defeated and out of options. Instead, Yada drops a briefcase with $1 million inside, calling it a solution to his problems. This case pops open to reveal stacks of cash, and Lucishin cannot believe his eyes. That is when he recognizes the guy. It is Yada from the Holy Light Society, making a very unholy offer. This deal is simple. Inject this vial of S-class monster blood and become a lab rat. Lying there in the money-soaked rain, he is promised the power of an S-class hero. Of course, Yada casually mentions the success rate is less than 1%, and failure means a very messy death. With a desperate look in his eyes, Lucishin grabs the vial, ready to bet his life on it. Yada walks back to his car, questioning if this insane plan to create an S-class hero will even work. Inside, a younger version of the witch girl says they are just experimenting. No harm, no foul. She notes that failure just means one dead guy, but success would be a real headache. Meanwhile, Lucishin, briefcase in hand, storms back to the gambling den, screaming that he has got cash for another round. Back in the past, the witch girl reveals she wanted Yada to personally vet all the candidates, because if any of these experiments become a problem, he is the one who has to clean up the mess. And in the present, Yada does just that, unleashing a massive holy light slash on his former teammate. This beam of pure energy tears right through the demonic brute, shredding him to pieces. From their hiding spot, the cat girl notes the monster is healing way slower than when he fought them. She explains Yada's holy attribute is a natural counter and he is the strongest light user around. Yada stands over the beast, declaring this is exactly why he is the biggest threat to any demon lord. But his suspicion finally kicks in, demanding to know why this monster was at their camp in the first place. Gong Yuan just snaps a salute, playing the perfect subordinate while his companion cringes hard. He spins a sob story about how he was just trying to build a nice, cozy home for everyone. Then this big bad monster attacked and he could only save himself. What a tragic hero. Yada is not fully convinced, realizing he will need to wake the brute to get the real story. His catgirl companion whispers that their little act clearly is not working, but Gong Yuan just smirks, saying he did not plan all this just to let Yada be the good guy. This undying hero roars back to life, conveniently cutting Yada's investigation short. A massive demonic fist comes crashing down, aimed right at the hero leader's head. Yada effortlessly blocks it with a holy shield, unimpressed since the brute's already wounded. Still, the monster's demonization level is off the charts, even after taking a direct holy hit. It smashes the ground in pure rage, proving that a mutated demon is still a demon. So Yada decides he will just use a demon king's power to weaken it. Rules for thee, not for me. Yada taunts his former teammate, telling him to enjoy his new double S-class power-up. From his hiding spot, Gong Yuan is loving this, calling it his favorite show, allies killing each other. Because all this S-class fighting is going to accelerate the arrival of something big into the real world, and with a truly villainous grin, he declares that will be his real stage. Meanwhile, Yada's other team is dealing with a tentacle monster that shoots lasers from its face. His witchy companion dodges the attack, looking more annoyed than scared. But then a giant insectoid monster joins the party, lunging right for her. Her little cat's eyes glow, activating its own S-class skill to help out. And the stoic team leader throws up a shield, blocking the monster's punch just in time. This witch girl is already stressed, pointing out they cannot possibly fight two Legion bosses at once. Her partner ignores her, having found Lucishin's energy signature and telling them to move out. They find him leaning against a wall, still in human form, which seems like a good sign. She cautiously approaches, asking if he is okay to walk. He just holds out a coin, weakly asking for a hand because he is badly injured. Oh, a poor guy. Suddenly, beams of light shoot right through his chest and he looks completely stunned. This witch girl is not impressed, calling out his terrible acting since the real Lucishin is a coward. This imposter reveals its true monstrous form, a faceless shadow, lamenting that its cover is blown. It dissolves into purple smoke as she explains to her leader that Lucishin was copied. And all the pieces click into place. The copy, the camp attack, Gong Yuan's fake distress call. She completely panics, screaming they have to abandon the rescue and get back to base now. This witch girl Carmen teleports down some spooky crystal stairs, hoping she is not too late. She zips through a weird mushroom forest, a blur of pink energy and pure, unadulterated panic. Meanwhile, Jin Yucheng is still trying to play hero, and the healer has to physically restrain him from tearing himself apart. He is yelling about the cracks in reality he saw, insisting this is way more important than his own life. This healer confirms his fears. The whole dungeon is collapsing and the third layer is about to merge with their world. And we learn it was Carmen who linked this layer to reality in the first place, a decision that is aging like milk. If this thing fully descends, every monster inside gets a free pass to go sightseeing in the city. We get a glimpse of this nightmare scenario, a lone hero facing a massive swirling gate to hell. A giant demonic claw immediately punches through because of course it does. This hero is completely dwarfed by the hand, about to become a red smear on the pavement. And then the full demon lord emerges, ready to redecorate the planet with fire and screaming. Gong Yuan narrates this lovely scene, sarcastically wondering if the great hero Yada would die to stop it. He smirks at his crew, betting a guy like Yada would never actually sacrifice himself for the masses. His catgirl companion seems to think the situation is so hopeless that her master will not even need to act, but Gong Yuan's wicked grin says he's got a much better idea. He answers with his own actions, delivering a swift kick that sends the demon lord reeling back. This original hero can only stare as Gong Yuan effortlessly holds back the demonic tide all by himself. Then two massive demonic fists slam into the portal from the outside, seemingly under his command. This demon lord inside roars in fury, getting shoved back into its own dimension against its will. With a final implosion of dark energy, the portal is sealed shut, crisis managed by the main villain of the story. His catgirl companion points out that Yada just let the giant demon lord loose on the city, but Gong Yuan just asks what else he was supposed to do. You do not fight a losing battle. Meanwhile, Yada is already on the scene, choosing to contain the situation instead of going for a messy kill. He effortlessly cuts down the smaller minions, proving this is the cold, calculating hero everyone knows. This catgirl thought he was just scared, but Gong Yuan's smirk implies it is all pure self-interest. Our boy then orders his little spy to lure even more demons toward Yada just to keep him busy. He then grabs his companion's hand, getting ready for their grand entrance. With a wicked grin, he tells her it is showtime and she looks ready for whatever chaos he has planned. Back in the city, Yada is swarmed by monsters when Gong Yuan's voice rings out offering to help, and they arrive with the cat girl holding a sign that says, "We are reinforcements, peak professional support." Yada, completely buying the act, just tells Gong Yuan to go seal the portal while he holds off the horde. Gong Yuan puts on his best hero face, vowing to protect the innocent citizens from this terrible threat. This makes Yada panic, realizing he just told the main villain to go handle the portal all by himself. Instead of sealing it, Gong Yuan summons a whole legion of his own demons because of course he does. He stands there with some kind of artifact, looking down on the chaos he's about to unleash. On the ground, a news reporter is covering the S-class monster attack, totally oblivious to the real problem. This monster sneaks up right behind her mid-broadcast and she is about to become the lead story. Her cameraman yanks her out of the way just as a massive claw smashes where she was standing. She squeezes her eyes shut, bracing for the worst as the monster roars. But then her eyes snap open with a completely different energy, calm and terrifyingly focused. With a flash of wind, Gong Yuan appears, shielding the reporter from the monster's attack. This reporter on the ground looks up in shock, recognizing him as the new guy from the raid team. Gong Yuan just gives her a smug grin, telling her she is safe now and should get going. But the monster is not impressed by this little hero act, letting out a furious roar. Her cameraman tries to drag her away, yelling that a D-ranker cannot possibly fight an S-class threat. In a blur of motion, the monster's attack is completely shredded into pieces. Both of them just stare in disbelief, wondering how a supposed weakling is doing this. This beast lands a hit, tearing through his clothes with some kind of ice attack. But our boy catches its arm mid-swing, freezing it solid and declaring he is still alive. He holds the monster's arm tight, vowing it will not hurt anyone else. The hero's speech is in full swing. Then he yells for his cat girl to freeze his feet to the ground so he cannot retreat. What a martyr. She is completely baffled, pointing out he already weakened the monster and Yada beat it up. Gong Yuan explains that if he reverts to his true form, he can just freeze the whole thing solid. He just tells her to chill because you do not rush a good performance. Standing before the beast, he calls this the perfect stage for his debut. With the cameras all rolling, he notes that he's got quite the audience. He's giving the people exactly what they want, their favorite kind of hero drama. And facing the roaring monster, he declares the show is just getting started. Meanwhile, Carmen is tumbling through a dark, chaotic dimension full of purple energy. She continues her freefall into the abyss, completely alone and out of options. Carmen's back from her little tumble and she has brought her own backup, a surprisingly cute teddy bear, which of course immediately transforms into a hulking, demon-shredding muscle bear because why not? This buffed-up plushie tears through a horde of lesser demons, clearing a path for its master. Meanwhile, her stoic partner is busy wrapping up other monsters in glowing energy rings. Unleashing her own S-class power, she wields twin energy daggers to completely lock down the area. This whole crew finally arrives to support Yada, who's been holding the line this entire time. He greets them with his usual warm personality, basically asking what took them so long. His teammate apologizes, admitting they had no idea the dungeon would collapse into reality this quickly. Everyone agrees it is a good thing Yada was here, otherwise the city would be an absolute mess. This little foxcat smugly reports the portal has stabilized, so at least the flood of demons is over. Yada's other teammate immediately asks about Lucishin since that was their whole rescue mission. Carmen explains they only found a faceless shadow imposter that copied him and then bolted. Her partner starts connecting the dots, realizing the monster that attacked their camp must have been. Yada confirms their worst fears, it was the real Lucishin, fully demonized and responsible for wiping out the camp. And the final gut punch is that he just used the chaos to slip through the rift into the city. A portal opens back to their base, a weirdly colorful world made of candy and toy blocks. From their high-tech command center, Yada orders all guilds to hunt down the rogue agent immediately. But he already knows it is too late, his face grim with the realization of their failure. A news broadcast confirms it. A monster is rampaging with hundreds of casualties already piling up. And the monster's identity is officially confirmed by witnesses. It is none other than their former teammate Lucishin. This news reporter is live, trying to spin this whole disaster as the raid team being on top of things. Her broadcast shows Gong Yuan's heroic struggle, framing him as the brave soul containing the S-class monster. This media is already painting this underleveled rookie as a selfless hero sacrificing himself for the city. He shatters the ice around him with a righteous roar, vowing the beast will not escape. The performance is flawless, and the public is eating it up, cheering his name in the streets while watching on a giant screen. Meanwhile, one of Yada's teammates smirks that their rogue agent turned out to be useful after all. This blonde leader then orders Yada to coordinate with Gong Yuan and put Lucishin down for good. Her subordinate is shocked, asking why they cannot just control him with drugs like they usually do. His partner explains that this time it is a PR nightmare because the whole world is watching. He argues he can just make everyone forget with a celebrity scandal, a true PR professional this one. This blonde leader gives him a look that could curdle milk, warning him about how that sounds out loud. But he is still freaking out, screaming that they are talking about killing their own friend. This guy looks genuinely tormented, having a sudden and inconvenient attack of conscience. He is doubled over in anguish while the rest of the team just stands there, completely unmoved. Gritting his teeth, he sheds a single dramatic tear for his fallen comrade. Then he is just openly weeping, crying that Lucishin was one of them, their companion. His boss is totally unfazed, telling Yada to go make the kill look good for the cameras. Yada accepts, knowing the new plan is to make Gong Yuan a hero to cover up their massive failure. A massive star of holy light forms above the demonized Lucishin. Yada's finally on the scene, and a giant beam of pure energy slams down, ready to erase their little problem from existence. Lucishin is on his knees, writhing in the aftermath of that holy blast, and Yada just stands there, looking like a perfectly righteous hero after taking out his own teammate. This official story hits the news. The disaster is over, all thanks to the fourth seed of the raid team. They are blaming Lucishin's rampage on demonic influence, conveniently leaving out all the juicy details. At a press conference, the raid team leaders put on a great show of bowing and apologizing for the mess. But the public is not buying it, with protests erupting to strip the team of their special privileges. To counter the bad press, the media pivots to a new hero, our boy, the D-rank Gong Yuan. They are broadcasting his heroic struggle on a loop, painting him as the guy who refused to back down. And now he is supposedly in a coma, fighting for his life in the hospital. What a dedicated public servant. This news anchor even asks the entire nation to pray for his recovery, really milking the drama for all it is worth. A silver-haired woman bursts into his hospital room, calling his name in a total panic, only to find him chilling in bed, being fanned by his cat girl while another companion sits nearby. He just gives her a smug grin, casually asking what is up, not a single scratch on him. She is completely stunned, stuttering that the news said he was basically dead. Gong Yuan explains it is just a little special effect from his acting skill, currently set to critically ill patient. She realizes this was all a performance, and he confirms that tragic heroes get the best ratings. He then proudly shows off his phone, already racking up thousands of followers and adoring comments. The plan worked perfectly. His visitor asks if this means he is not going to change back into whatever he really is, but he just shushes her with a smirk, suggesting they take this conversation somewhere more private. He tells his companions to stand guard, getting ready to have a little chat with his new guest. One of his shadowy minions agrees to the order, glowing with some seriously ominous purple energy. This minion then shapeshifts into a nurse, promising to keep any unwanted visitors away from the room. With a snap of his fingers, Gong Yuan summons a flame and tells his guest to follow him. He yanks her right into a hellish dimension, and she is understandably asking if this is a dungeon. A swirling vortex of fire and shadow closes behind them, sealing them in his private little world. She asks if he really had to drag her into a dungeon just to talk, but he says he was coming anyway. Gong Yuan explains that his internet fame is not translating to real power because online fans are fickle. His silver-haired companion looks worried, asking if his grand scheme was a total bust. But he just grins, pointing out that even with a low success rate, 180,000 followers is a lot to work with. And with a massive, cheesy smile, he announces he leveled up his sincere protection skill 3 times. A system screen reveals his new perks, strengthening his followers, stealing their stats, and claiming dungeons as his own territory. He is absolutely thrilled because these new skills will help him control his demonic power. Turning to the woman, he gets all hyped up, telling her what this means for her future. She can go home and live peacefully while he goes out to subdue even more demons, of course. Her face just drops, but he argues that he has to keep getting stronger so he is not a total deadbeat. Standing tall, he says that before any of that can happen, there is one more thing to take care of. He turns to a massive fire demon, declaring it is time for the beast to get a human form. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, the shape-shifting nurse politely turns away a visitor with flowers. This visitor, a woman from the raid team, accepts this and decides to check on someone else nearby. In the next room, a man sits in the dark, muttering that this is not how things were supposed to happen at all. That guilt-ridden teammate is flashing back to Lucishin's fall, still haunted by his friend's name. He grits his teeth, vowing to uncover the real truth behind what happened to his friend. A few days later, the scene cuts to a sunny day on the ocean with a ship cutting through the waves. On deck, Gong Yuan is just chilling, noting how much more relaxed life is now that he is stronger. He is basically listing off his assets, including his S-Class ice-powered cat girl enjoying the water. Not to mention his S-Class shapeshifter, who brought her entire Shadow clan along for the ride. And his ultimate trump card is the little fire bird on his head, a literal S-Class boss monster. He reflects that even in his past life as the Demon King, he did not have this kind of power until much later. Plus, those new skills he just got have given his true demon form a massive power-up. With this crew, he is a far cry from the weakling he was when he first got here. He is smugly thinking that all this power belongs to his current identity. Gong Yuan, what a brand. This only catches if his true nature gets exposed. Every guild in the world will hunt him down. Because on paper, he is still just a pathetic D-rank, a fact his cat girl is more than happy to rub in. So his top priority now is to launder his hidden powers and make them look totally legit. As he walks along the dock, someone calls out his name. It is the silver-haired woman from the hospital, confirming she has handled all the boat arrangements. She points at the little firebird, asking if this whole trip is just a cover to use it in public. He just smirks, explaining that once it gets a human form, it can fight with him as a newly tamed pet. See, unlike his other companions who are still growing, this fire beast is already at peak power. This S-class phoenix finally takes its human form, something it was supposed to do the moment he tamed it. He explains the firebird is bound to its dungeon, giving it Legion boss power over its own territory. But this also means it is totally powerless outside its home turf. Worse, if players ever clear the dungeon, the boss just gets deleted along with it, a pretty raw deal. His silver-haired companion finally gets it, realizing this is why those unique bosses never respawn. Gong Yuan's solution is simple. He will just get his *own dungeon and absorb the fire birds into it. This will make him a higher tier being than a dungeon lord, freeing his little pet from its chains. She is completely baffled, asking how a human can even own a dungeon in the first place. He just waves it off, explaining that the world is about to get a major version update. After the next big descent, it'll become totally normal for humans to have their own dungeons. This whole process starts with acquiring a special item, basically a dungeon creation key. These player-owned dungeons eventually grow into massive guild main cities. Gong Yuan knows from his past life that all the major guilds, including Yadas, built their power bases this way. And the very first item needed to do this is about to appear in a brand new dungeon at sea, which just so happens to be located on a massive luxury cruise ship called the Dream Star. He then whips out a brochure gushing about their 12-day all-inclusive mission. A trip generously sponsored by some rich kid he is holding hostage in a desolate wasteland, a true patron of the arts. As the whole crew gets ready to board, his companion asks if Yada knows his star agent is just taking a vacation. Gong Yuan smoothly replies that he already cleared it because even national heroes need a little R&R. Of course, he got that time off by faking a critical soul injury that would kill him without rest. So the plan is set: enjoy a cruise, snag a world-altering artifact, and build a secret base. Perfectly simple. As Gong Yuan boards the ship, he is met with a full-on confetti parade, not exactly a stealth mission. A crowd is cheering, holding a banner welcoming hero Gong Yuan onto the cruise. His entire crew just stands there, completely baffled by this very public, very loud welcome party. Suddenly, some celebrity-looking guy floats down, smugly asking how he likes the reception. Gong Yuan is floored, recognizing the man as Jin Yu Cheng, another agent from the raid team. This guy explains he turned Gong Yuan's vacation into a reality TV show to boost his popularity. What a pal. Gong Yuan immediately shoves his hand away, but Jin Yu Cheng reminds him he is contractually obligated to play along. Leaning in close, he whispers for Gong Yuan to smile for the cameras because this is all for show. And yeah, the entire ship is swarming with camera drones, broadcasting this whole thing live. This show's title card pops up: Hero's Heart-Pounding Sea Vacation. This is going to be a nightmare. Jin Yu Cheng starts the day by hamming it up for the cameras at breakfast, playing the charming idol. Meanwhile, a reporter is grilling Gong Yuan for looking at the meat section for 3 whole seconds. While Jin Yu Cheng fakes a training session, the show frames Gong Yuan as a lazy bum just lounging around. This reporter will not leave him alone, asking if his 12 minutes of sitting is some secret meditation technique. Later, Jin Yu Cheng is putting on a full-blown concert on the deck because of course he is. Desperate for a break, Gong Yuan tries to hide out in an empty movie theater, but the camera crew ambushes him, asking if he is there to watch an adult film. Zero chill from these people. He tries to take a walk on the deck, but the reporters are still on him, asking what he is up to now. They then ask if he is going to train the demon he brought on board, prying into absolutely everything. Finally, he is completely cornered, swarmed by mics and cameras with no hope of escape. Gong Yuan's last nerve is officially gone, with reporters just chanting his name into microphones. So he just drops the mic, completely done with this whole interview charade. This mic hits the deck with a loud thud, and our boy just stands there, totally unfazed. He then puts on his best oopsie face, blaming a slippery hand before making a break for the restroom. While Gong Yuan bolts, Jin Yu Cheng cheerfully tells the audience that their hero is just a little camera shy. This reporter then turns to Jin Yu Cheng, asking about the future of this very awkward program. Of course, Jin Yu Cheng just lays on the charm, assuring the viewers that Gong Yuan will try his best for his lovely fans. But then he gets all conspiratorial, telling the crew he is counting on them to expose some juicy secrets while Gong Yuan is off balance. This gets the crew all fired up, and Jin Yu Cheng teleports away in a dramatic burst of pink energy. What a diva. Turns out the guy's got an S-class power called Starlight Trail, which he is using to float dramatically over the ship. From his vantage point, he wonders how long our boy can hold out before cracking under the pressure. Meanwhile, Gong Yuan is pulling a full-on escape, vaulting over a railing to get away from the cameras. He is banging on his companion's door, desperately asking to be let in so he can hide. His companions are just kicking back with snacks, wondering why he is here instead of starring in his live show. This silver-haired woman confirms they have been watching the whole train wreck, and his cat girl even made a supportive fan sign. He is absolutely fuming, complaining that Jin Yu Cheng has a camera crew glued to him no matter where he goes. But his silver-haired companion just smiles, suggesting that maybe this is a good thing. All this exposure is exactly what he wanted. She explains that Jin Yu Cheng was a massive idol even before the descent, and now he is even more famous. She points out that starring alongside him is a huge deal, while his other 2 companions offer some very enthusiastic support. Gong Yuan just slumps in defeat, muttering a single pathetic no. Jiang Yuan's face darkens as he realizes Jin Yu Cheng is not just an annoyance, he is being actively hunted. It turns out this idol has a history of manipulating the top brass with deniable evidence and perfect alibis. And that sharp intuition is exactly what that guilt-ridden teammate from the hospital totally underestimated. His companion asks if the celebrity knows his secret, but Jiang Yuan is sure the guy has zero proof, just suspicion. He finally gets it. This whole reality show is not a vacation, it is a custom-built trap designed just for him. In this hunting ground, he feels completely outmatched with no chance of winning this twisted game. With camera drones swarming the ship, his only option is to take Jin Yu Cheng out quietly, leaving no trace. But pulling that off under the watchful eye of a global audience is going to be next to impossible. Fast forward to day 2 of the cruise, 12 hours after our boy locked himself away to escape the madness. This camera crew decides to get some juicy footage by planting a hidden camera in his room, for the fans. They snake a tiny camera through an air vent, insisting they totally got permission for this super-legal invasion of privacy. With their little spy cam in place, they are ready to expose the hero's secret side to the world. On the feed, they spot Jiang Yuan looking at a photo, immediately assuming he is pining over a secret lover. But a closer look reveals it is a picture of Lucishin, the teammate who fell during the last raid. This crew watches in silence as Jiang Yuan mourns his friend, apologizing for failing to save him. And just like that, they realize his bad attitude was actually grief, a hero mourning a fallen comrade. This new narrative makes him look even more noble on the live broadcast, with fans pouring out their support. Right at that moment, Jiang Yuan swings his door open, catching the entire spy operation red-handed. This producer stammers an excuse, but Jiang Yuan just tells him to go get more cameras. He is ready to play along. He flashes a perfect smile, announcing that after a rough day, he is ready to give his fans the show of a lifetime. So Jiang Yuan is out on a jet ski, putting on a big show for the camera drones buzzing around him. Up on the deck, Jin Yu Cheng and his crew watch the performance, with a reporter asking if he will join in on the fun. He flashes a charming smile, saying he will play along, but internally notes this sudden cooperation is super suspicious. Suddenly, his eyes narrow as he spots something else happening on the ship. It is the cat girl, one of Jiang Yuan's tamed demons, sprinting across the deck with a purpose. And just like that, Jin Yu Cheng teleports away in a dramatic puff of pink smoke, leaving the crew totally baffled. Out on the water, Jiang Yuan smirks, thinking the bait has been taken and the plan is working perfectly. But plot twist, it is actually the shapeshifter in disguise, complaining that the sunlight is killing her ShadowClan vibe. Meanwhile, the real Jiang Yuan's cat girl is sneaking down a dark stairwell deep inside the ship's guts. She finds her way into the engine room, surrounded by the ship's core machinery. With her hand glowing with ice power, she gets ready to sabotage the whole system. But her magic shatters as she gets zapped by some kind of energy field. It is a trap. Jin Yu Cheng appears from the shadows, revealing he knew the jet ski was just a distraction for this very moment. This cat girl is fuming, thinking her master is a genius, but his enemies are just a bunch of sneaky cowards. He just smirks, holding up his phone with a perfect photo of her sabotage attempt. No detective work needed. With this proof, he can trigger a full internal investigation into Jiang Yuan's team and expose him. But a voice from behind says that would be a real shame, and it is the real Jiang Yuan. Our boy grins, saying a headline about a hero who cannot control his pet would be pretty embarrassing. Jin Yu Cheng agrees, warning him that an investigation will expose every single one of his secrets. Jiang Yuan's eyes glow red as he clarifies, no, it is going to be embarrassing for him. Jiang Yuan suggests a new, more explosive headline for their little show, riding a massive energy bird. This energy bird then dive bombs straight toward Jin Yu Cheng, who is just standing there. This attack slams into a pillar, shattering it with a blast of pure energy. Unfazed, Jin Yu Cheng smirks, saying he will not be needing any investigators for this. Our boy then proposes a new title for the show, holding up a tiny, glowing owl. This idol's face hardens, realizing what Jiang Yuan is implying with this new title, and the new headline drops. The hero is actually the Demon Lord, a live confession. Jin Yu Cheng completely loses his cool, finally understanding he's been hunting the right guy all along. All the pieces click into place: the base attack, the lost comms, the werewolf, it was all him. With a smirk, Jiang Yuan twists the knife, saying his reaction is even better than Lucishin's was when he found out. Mentioning his dead friend's name was the last straw, and Jiang Yuan's rage just explodes. With a flourish of pink petals, Jin Yu Cheng launches himself into an attack, sword drawn. This idol dives down, aiming a powerful strike right at Jiang Yuan's head. But Jiang Yuan easily parries the blow while a shadow clone simultaneously strikes from below. Mid-air, Jin Yu Cheng reveals another trick up his sleeve, a gun charged with purple energy. Jiang Yuan catches the energy blast with his bare hand, a fiery power erupting to counter it. Suddenly, the room is filled with Jin Yu Cheng's clones, all armed and ready to attack. Even surrounded, our boy looks completely unfazed, ready for a real fight. He unleashes a massive combo move, a swirling vortex of fire and wind to wipe them all out. Their blades lock, and Jiang Yuan just mocks him. Looks like speed alone will not be enough to win Superstar. Jin Yu Cheng says this is just a little payback for Lucishin, since killing demons is not his real job. With a nasty grin, he tells Jiang Yuan that he was a dead man the second his secret got out. Jiang Yuan fires back that it will not just be the raid team, it'll be all of humanity hunting him. But our boy just smirks, saying he has been hunted before, so what is one more time? This idol reveals he picked this spot specifically because there is no phone signal down in the ship's hold. Surrounded by flames, Gong Yuan asks if Jin Yucheng really thinks he is the one walking out of here alive. This completely throws the guy, who cannot believe he is the one being threatened right now. He just starts laughing his head off, mocking Gong Yuan for getting played by his own demon. Leaning in, he asks if our boy even knows what his powers are after all this time. Turns out Gong Yuan knows exactly what they are, activating his own S-class power and forming a massive crystal arm. Huge ice shards erupt from the floor, trapping Jin Yucheng as Gong Yuan explains the teleportation ability. Apparently it is an instant teleport with a minor stamina cost, a pretty broken skill honestly. A massive spirit wolf materializes behind Jin Yucheng, part of this extreme cold domain trap. Yeah, it is a top-tier teleportation skill, basically an I win button for getting around. From his icy perch, Gong Yuan taunts him, asking how you kill a guy who can just blink away. Jin Yucheng's feet get frozen solid, but he scoffs that it is not nearly enough to keep him here. Gong Yuan swings his own blade, ready to end this with a flourish of brilliant energy. With a final smirk, Jin Yucheng says goodbye, telling the demon to get ready for global condemnation. He unleashes a massive slash, cutting right through the crystal prison with a storm of petals and light. And just like that, he is gone, leaving the wolf spirit to report that the master has escaped. Gong Yuan smirks, coolly informing the idol that there is absolutely no escape. So when Jin Yucheng tries his dramatic teleport, he just faceplants right into a pillar, nice one. Clutching his arm, the guy is completely baffled, wondering how his perfect escape route went so wrong. Our boy helpfully explains that teleporting is a little tricky when the air is saturated with his ice crystals. Apparently the crystals refract light, which totally scrambles Jin Yucheng's ability to move as a beam of light. Jin Yucheng just grits his teeth, insisting he can adapt to this little inconvenience with a few more tries. And Gong Yuan knows he is right, a future top-tier awaken will not be stopped by a simple ice trick forever. In the future, this guy will be able to manipulate light into thousands of instant attacks, a total monster. But right now, he is just not at that god-tier level, and Gong Yuan is exploiting that weakness. His whole plan is to eliminate this future threat on this sealed ship before he can ever reach his full potential. Meanwhile, up on deck, the crowd is absolutely loving the show Gong Yuan is putting on. This shapeshifter is playing the part of a perfect idol, waving to the fans and soaking up the cheers. Internally, though, he is getting antsy, wondering how much longer the real Gong Yuan is going to be. Plus, the little owl demon is complaining that all this direct sunlight is a real drag. Suddenly, the shapeshifter's playful expression vanishes as he senses something is wrong. Looking down from the railing, he spots a massive, dark shape emerging from the ocean below. Elsewhere on the ship, a filming in progress sign has been placed in a restricted area. Two crew members find the sign, totally confused since this shoot was not on their schedule. Back in the engine room, Gong Yuan unleashes a devastating combo move, a literal blizzard of ice shards. With a cold smile, he tells Jin Yucheng to just give up, claiming he is not a fan of pointless torture. Jin Yucheng dodges another ice shard, telling Gong Yuan to save the threats for when he can actually land a hit. Our boy just smirks, pointing out he's been teleporting for half an hour. Exhaustion is gonna do the job for him. But that confidence vanishes as he realizes the idol is adapting way too fast, no longer stumbling after his jumps. Even with a giant spirit wolf looming over him, Jin Yucheng stands his ground, completely unintimidated. In fact, he is already trying to teleport straight to the exit, using the wolf's presence as a distraction. This wolf spirit lunges to stop him, but he is gone in a flash. At this rate, he is actually going to escape. Realizing his ice trap is failing, Gong Yuan decides it is time for Plan B, just blow up the entire ship. He condenses a massive fireball into a swirling vortex, ready to detonate the whole engine room. But suddenly the illusion shatters and Jin Yucheng is yelling at some other monster about its cheap tricks. This cat girl is trapped in a weird green field, complaining that her powers are suddenly being suppressed. Gong Yuan screams a warning as massive spikes erupt from the watery floor right where she is standing. He dives in, tackling her to the ground just as the spikes would have skewered her. As he holds her down, he finally gets it. This is not the engine room, it is the entrance to a dungeon. Jin Yucheng is just as lost, staring at the giant demon-like teeth, wondering what this place even is. Our boy grimaces, realizing he has found his target dungeon way ahead of schedule, but the situation is a mess. He remembers from his past life that this very ship was the one that discovered the world's first sealed dungeon. A flashback shows the original incident with panicked passengers screaming about a monster in the ocean. And by monster, they meant a colossal sea beast about to swallow the entire cruise ship whole. This creature's jaws clamp down, taking the whole vessel down in a single horrifying bite. Meanwhile, back on land, the Giltridden teammate gets an emergency alert. A giant monster has appeared offshore. Back on land, the news is already breaking. The cruise ship got eaten and both Gong Yuan and Jin Yucheng are officially missing. A woman on his screen asks the Giltridden teammate if he has seen the report because this is a really bad day. He is wondering how a creature that massive could have gone undetected, questioning if it is even a demon at all. Another operator chimes in, confirming every coastal city is now in danger and the military plans to attack in 4 hours. Fighter jets are already scrambling to engage the beast, with a tight 4-hour window to rescue any potential survivors. This guy knows conventional weapons are useless, wondering if the military is actually about to drop a nuke on this thing. This woman on screen stresses that if that monster reaches the coast, it is game over for the entire city. His blonde colleague looks completely unconvinced, scoffing at the very idea of survivors after a ship got swallowed whole. Suddenly, a team member rushes in, yelling for the boss to get online. The live stream is somehow back up. This leader's eyes widen in disbelief, realizing Jin Chang is still alive against all odds. On the tablet, Jin Chang is broadcasting a desperate message, asking if anyone on the outside can actually see him. He confirms the ship was eaten and he is trapped in a brand new dungeon, but he is already working on an escape plan. So the giant sea monster is just a dungeon entrance, but Jin Chang has a much bigger bombshell to drop first. And there it is, he exposes Gong Yuan as the demon who has been hunting them this whole time. A flash of imagery reveals Gong Yuan in his true form as the Demon Lord, the so-called strongest of them all. His skeletal hand closes around the planet, vowing to conquer the entire world in this new life. But this grand vision of conquest is interrupted by the cat girl and owl, begging their master to wake up and stop eating. Gong Yuan blinks back to reality, finding himself at a dinner table mid-snack, totally confused about what is happening. This cat girl is absolutely thrilled he is back, celebrating with a high five for the little owl spirit. He's completely disoriented, remembering the dungeon but now finding himself in a restaurant, nearly eating himself into a coma. Gong Yuan snaps back to reality, wondering if he is in the dungeon or just had a world-class food coma. He and the cat girl check the deck, finding the ship's layout totally normal but eerily empty. Naturally, their next stop is a super inviting, not at all creepy hatch leading into the darkness below. Thinking Jin Chang is still lost in the illusion, he decides now's the perfect time to go finish the job. Down the stairs he goes, reaching out to unseal the heavy-looking door. But the second he touches it, a ghostly blue hand grabs his wrist, stopping him cold. Suddenly, spectral hands erupt from the walls and the cat girl screams a warning. These things immediately swarm the cat girl, grabbing her arms and legs. She struggles as the ghostly limbs begin to drag her away, completely restraining her. With her eyes glowing, she prepares to unleash some serious power to break free. Gong Yuan yells at her to stop, realizing fighting back is probably the worst possible move right now. Just as quickly as they appeared, the hands vanish, leaving him to realize this is not a brawn-over-brain problem. This cat girl is released, still fuming as he remembers a normal person cleared this dungeon in his past life. Landing on her feet, she is still ready to throw down, but he gets it, they broke a rule. Our boy puts the pieces together, trying to figure out the dungeon's twisted logic. And there it is, the two rules they have learned the hard way: no trespassing and absolutely no fighting. This cat girl's solution is, of course, to just smash everything, a truly nuanced approach. A tiny fire spirit pops up, confirming to Gong Yuan that his connection to his demon army is still solid. But his goal is the boundary sealing order, so he decides to play along with the rules for now. This cat girl, meanwhile, is already clinging to him for dear life, clearly not a fan of this new no-fighting policy. Suddenly, the shape-shifting owl demon comes tumbling out of nowhere, right into Gong Yuan's arms. He is absolutely bawling, telling his master how terrifying it was being separated from him. Turns out, every time he tried to use his disguise skill, those ghostly hands would pop up and grab him. Gong Yuan puts it together, so it is not just fighting, any asterisk skill use is against the rules here. And right on cue, the dungeon spells it out for them. Rule number 3 is no activating abilities whatsoever. His little owl explains the real problem. The second he dropped his disguise, the fans on deck went nuts. We see the passengers now looking like total zombies, clawing at the glass and screaming for their idol back. Our boy realizes they are not just angry fans, they are consumed by some primal hunger. It clicks. This dungeon amplifies everyone's deepest desires, turning the ship into a free-for-all of greed and obsession. This only way forward is a glowing purple portal, and the fine print says only those who master their desires can enter.